Sometimes a story needs a second wind. Whether it's film or gaming, franchise can hit a point where the best way forward is to take a step back, reimagining what came before to breathe new life into the series. That's where the idea of a soft reboot comes in. Take Metal Gear Solid, for example, the game I've already covered here on the channel. That 1998 release was, in many ways, a soft reboot of the original Metal Gear games for the MSX era. It respected the past while crafting a more cinematic, modern narrative for a new audience. And from there, the series only climbed higher. Same thing with X-Men. After the original trilogy wrapped up in the early 2000s, The Last Stand really felt like a last stand. They brought it back with Days of Future Past, a soft reboot that didn't ignore what came before, but reshaped it, giving the series new momentum. And just like Metal Gear, it worked. This soft reboot formula has worked across plenty of franchises, and in 2011, Mortal Kombat pulled it off in one of the most epic ways gaming has ever seen. A game that didn't just reboot the story, it rewrote history. It gave a fresh new meaning to its narrative and gameplay, reimagining the events of the original trilogy into one complete masterpiece. Welcome to episode 12 of the Mortal Kombat Takeover. Today, we're going back to the beginning with Mortal Kombat.
Finish her! Finish him! Fatality!
If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if you've been rocking with me for a while, welcome back. We're almost at the finish line of the Mortal Kombat Takeover with just one video left. Mortal Kombat X, which drops in 2 weeks. It's wild to say this, but after covering 11 games already, diving into the 12th has been one heck of a ride. Every late night edit, every overnighter, it has been worth it. Quick sidebar. I've been planning the next big takeover for the channel. There's one more coming later this year, but looking ahead to 2026, we're going big. Starting January 3rd, we're jumping into the Naughty Dog takeover, then Batman Arkham takeover, and then the Street Fighter takeover. So trust me, we've got a lot to look forward to. Now, if you're into long form retrospectives and you're not subscribed yet, now's your golden ticket. We're on the road to 10,000 subs this year, and we've just crossed the 6,000 threshold. So if you enjoyed this video or any of the others on the channel, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay up to date. And of course, dropping a like really helps push this video out to more viewers. So every thumbs up counts. With that said, let's dive into this.
Round 1.
Before we dive in, I want to say if you've been following along with the Mortal Kombat Takeover and you're already caught up to the franchise's backstory, feel free to skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen. I'll give you a few seconds to do that now. All right, let's recap. In 1991, the arcade scene was dominated by one name, Street Fighter II. It was a cultural phenomenon, ranking in massive profits and setting a new bar for competitive fighting games. While Capcom was cashing in, Midway was watching from the sidelines, itching to get a piece of that arcade action. Their first idea, a video game starring none other than Jean-Claude Van Damme, based loosely on his film Bloodsport. They approached Van Damme with the offer, but due to scheduling conflicts, he passed. So Midway moved on to Plan B. Enter John Tobias, a young Chicago-based graphic artist. Teaming up with Ed Boon and a few others, they pitched a new concept that was originally turned down until Van Damme denied them. With no star power to lean on, Midway greenlit Tobias and Boon's pitch, and just like that, Mortal Kombat was born. What followed wasn't just the success Midway hoped for. It was a cultural explosion, and not all of it was positive. The game's violence drew fire from news outlets, parents, Congress, you name it. But instead of killing the franchise, the controversy fueled it. It even led to the creation of the ESRB. The attempt to silence Mortal Kombat backfired spectacularly, and gamers couldn't get enough. Mortal Kombat 2 followed, and things took it to the next level. It cemented the series as a legendary fighting game, even becoming the highest-selling arcade title in 1991. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Some of the original actors began raising concerns about royalties, which led to legal disputes. As a result, many fan-favorite characters were cut from Mortal Kombat 3. Despite the drama, the game still did well financially. But the late 90s, that's when the franchise started slipping. In 1997, Midway rolled out Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero as a prequel and spin-off. It was supposed to build hype for the next mainline entry, but instead, it backfired. The game was criticized for its high difficulty and clunky design, though some fans still saw the value in it. It marked the first real wave of negativity for the franchise. Then came Mortal Kombat 4, the final arcade entry and the first to fully embrace 3D. It had mixed reception. Some liked the new direction, others weren't sold. But the biggest shift came in 1999 when co-creator John Tobias left Midway. At the time, he was developing Mortal Kombat Special Forces, and his departure left the game in limbo. With only 30% of the game completed, Midway rushed it out, and in 2000, Special Forces became the lowest point in the series. It was so bad, the franchise went dark for 2 whole years. Then in 2002, Mortal Kombat made its bold return with Deadly Alliance. A rebrand for the 6th generation of consoles, it shook things up. New gameplay systems, new characters, and a darker tone. And fans, they loved it. Riding that momentum, Midway released Deception, which many consider the definitive Mortal Kombat of the PS2 era. It built on everything Deadly Alliance started and delivered a more polished, satisfying experience. Feeling confident, Midway greenlit another spin-off, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. This time, they nailed it. The game reimagined Mortal Kombat 2 as an action-adventure brawler and became a cult favorite. To close out the 6th gen era, Midway went all in with Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The goal? Feature every character in the franchise's history. While some saw it as overstuffed and a bit chaotic, others appreciated the scope. It leaned more into quantity over quality, but it was ambitious to say the least. Around this time, Ed Boon wanted to reboot the series with a darker, grittier tone for Mortal Kombat 8. But instead, Midway went with a crossover, Mortal Kombat vs. DC. While it introduced the series to a younger audience, the reception was mixed. Some kids enjoyed it, but longtime fans were divided. If you want more detailed breakdowns of these games, check out the full Mortal Kombat Takeover playlist on the channel.
Been lucky enough to make a whole number of sequels, and we really wanted to kind of shake things up with this Mortal Kombat, so we introduced the DC Universe characters into it, and now, you know, you're gonna see Batman and Sub-Zero, Superman and Scorpion. All on the screen at the same time. It's kind of like one of those what-if scenarios.
Now that we're all caught up, let's continue. It would be pretty insensitive of me not to address what happened to Midway, the company that started it all. And to understand their fate, we've got to talk about a man named Summer Redstone. If you never heard of him, Redstone was an American billionaire, media mogul, and the founder and chairman of the second incarnation of Viacom. He also served as chairman of CBS Corporation and was the majority owner of the National Amusements Theater chain. In 1998, Redstone began investing in Midway Games. At that point, Midway had just spun off from Williams Industries, and Redstone, through his holding company, National Amusements, started buying up shares. He gradually increased his stake, going from around 15% in 1998 to controlling nearly 90% of Midway stock by 2005. This marked the beginning of Redstone's deep involvement in the company. Now, looking at it from Midway side, things weren't pretty. The company was bleeding money, reporting annual losses and constantly turning to stock and debt offerings just to stay afloat. In 2001, they exited the arcade business altogether and shifted focus to home console and PC games. But despite the pivot, financial problems kept piling up. By 2008, Midway reported a staggering $191 million loss on only $220 million in sales. Things were getting desperate, so much that they publicly admitted they might not even have enough liquidity to keep the lights on. That same year, the company started implementing major cost-cutting measures, including studio closures and widespread layoffs. And then came the final blow. In a move that shocked the industry, Summer Redstone sold his 87% controlling stake in Midway to a man named Mark Thomas for just $100,000. Now, that sounds wild, but it wasn't just a random fire sale. Redstone made the move to claim a massive tax loss. But the sale came with a serious catch. It triggered a change of control clause in Midway's bond agreements. This clause allowed bondholders to immediately demand repayment of $150 million in debt. Midway didn't have that kind of money lying around. Already in the red and low on resources, the company couldn't meet the sudden financial demands. So in early 2009, Midway filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection to shield itself from creditors while attempting to reorganize. Now, since this is a Mortal Kombat video, I know a lot of people wonder, did Mortal Kombat vs. DC have anything to do with Midway's collapse? And to be real with you, no. In fact, Mortal Kombat vs. DC was one of Midway's few bright spots at the time. It shipped nearly 2 million copies and was one of the company's best-selling late-era releases. Far from being a financial failure, it was actually considered a valuable asset during the bankruptcy proceedings. So let's debunk that myth right now. The bankruptcy wasn't caused by Mortal Kombat vs. DC. It was a result of years of financial mismanagement, poor investment decisions, and that one catastrophic ownership transfer that triggered the debt clause. By February 2009, the writing was on the wall. Midway's fate was sealed, and the public finally got word of what happened. In the Game Industry Biz article, it was stated, Midway Games has announced the company and its U.S. subsidiaries have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the courts. This action, which will not impact the company's non-U.S. operations, is intended to allow the company to continue operating in the face of overwhelming debt triggered by the sudden sale of the majority shares by Summer Redstone.
Midway Games has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company, best known for the Mortal Kombat series, says it doesn't expect to be able to pay back accelerated debt obligations stemming from media mogul Sumner Redstone's sale of a majority stake in the company.
As part of Midway's downfall, their assets had to be sold off. And now that we covered Midway's closure, it's time to shift focus back to Mortal Kombat. And of course, Ed Boon. Before Midway filed for Chapter 11, Ed Boon had already expressed a desire to take Mortal Kombat in a whole new direction. He wanted to make the series darker, grittier, and more mature, a tone shift he had discussed openly in interviews.
For next gen Mortal Kombat will definitely be, darker, grittier, more photorealistic, nuances to ridiculous levels, and a whole new completely fighting engine. Our goal is to really just, again, wipe the slate clean and just kind of start anew with this generation of...
In another interview with Game Daily Biz, Ed Boon was asked directly about the future of Mortal Kombat following the release of MK vs. DC. Keep in mind, this interview happened during the chaotic period when Midway was actively selling off his assets, but before they officially filed for bankruptcy. He was asked, what was the future of Mortal Kombat? How did Midway's recent layoffs affect the team that worked on Mortal Kombat vs. DC? Boon responded with, the statement that Midway let go a substantial portion of the people who worked on this game is completely false. I think I would know. Our team is intact, and we're already discussing the next game and what we want to do. Mortal Kombat is on pretty solid footing. Right now, we're looking at how this game performs, and I think it will have a good amount to do with what features we put into the next game. Fast forward 2 months, on January 26, 2009, Midway officially announced a new Mortal Kombat game was in development. This got fans hyped, especially with Ed Boon teasing big things. At the time, MK vs. DC was doing surprisingly well. It became the most pre-order Mortal Kombat title up to that point, and there had already been over 3.6 million matches on the PlayStation Network. But shortly after that announcement, Midway filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, just like we discussed earlier. As assets were sold off, one major piece caught Warner Brothers' eye: Mortal Kombat. They acquired Midway Games Chicago along with a few other assets and rebranded the studio as Warner Brothers Games Chicago. That name didn't last long though. Soon after, they renamed it to NetherRealm Studios, with the silhouette of Scorpion as the company's mascot. In an April 2009 article from GameSmith, it was reported, Warner Brothers Interactive, which slapped a new coat of paint on the course of Midway Games Mortal Kombat Studios in Chicago last year and rebranded it Warner Brothers Games Chicago, made an interesting trademark registration recently. They filed trademarks for NetherRealm Studios. Considering NetherRealm is a world in the Mortal Kombat universe, it's very possible that the name will soon be for the Chicago studio, which working on a new title in the Mortal Kombat series. The unnamed Mortal Kombat project, which is being labeled Mortal Kombat 9 on the internet, is due to come out sometime around Christmas of 2010. Once Warner Brothers took over, new positions opened and the team began rebuilding. However, even though development was underway, Mortal Kombat status was kept under wraps for almost a year. It wasn't until June 2010 that Warner Brothers officially announced a new Mortal Kombat game, this time developed for the 7th generation of consoles with a targeted release in 2011. To ease any concerns, Ed Boon was confirmed as the team's lead for the new project. Not only was he still behind the scenes developing the game, but he also became the public face of the franchise again, doing interviews, attending live chats, and building hype the old school way. The team even launched a dedicated website, themortalkombat.com. Screenshots from the site still exist online, though the site itself is really hard to track down today. Then came the big reveal, E3 2010. It was the summer's biggest gaming event, and it's where fans got their first real look at the rebooted Mortal Kombat.
Well, everybody, we are getting toward the end of E3 2010, but of course, as you know, if you've watched our E3 coverage for the last few years, we always try to end it with a big bang, and there is no exception this year by any means. Ed Boon joining us on the stage. How you doing, Ed?
Great.
It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming and closing the show out with Mortal Kombat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I brought here our lead designers, Paulo Garcia and John Edwards.
What's up, guys?
They're the guys who made all the crazy kind of stuff you're going to see happening. They're going to demo the game, show you some cool stuff.
Now, before we jump into what we're about to see, we should make sure the folks at home super appreciate what they're about to see, because this is literally the first time you've shown this game here at the show outside of your closed theater, right?
Yeah, the entire time we've been in this kind of really crazy theater, big long lines waiting for people. This is the first time it's kind of escaping that theater, seeing for the general public to see. We're totally psyched about showing you what's cool and new about Mortal Kombat.
let's not keep him in suspense anymore. Let's go ahead and take a look at what you got.
Okay, sure.
You want to set it up of what we're seeing here?
Absolutely. You know, Mortal Kombat has been around for a number of iterations. You know, in 1992, over 17 years we've been going. And after the last couple of games, we've made some pretty big changes to our formula. We really wanted to come back and say, what is it that players really want to see in Mortal Kombat? And I think the three things are M-rated presentation, brutality. They want to see a deeper fighting engine, and of course they want to see the classic fatalities in Mortal Kombat. We're delivering all three of those. You look at the our background here, it's really, we're going for a darker, more serious, gritty Mortal Kombat. Our characters and backgrounds are rendered in full 3D, but the fighting plane has gone back to the 2D fighting of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. That's what we're really excited about. So you have the classic moves. Scorpion has his spear move. Sub-Zero has his ice ball. And so all of the classic moves that you expect from your characters we have rendered in full 3D, but again with the 2D fighting plane. These guys can give you a cool demo of some of the crazy custom combos that you can do with the game here. I guess we're gonna fight a little bit.
I saw in the trailer there was some backgrounds, obviously, that certainly pay homage to some of the older ones we've seen, right?
Absolutely. This whole game is really a fan service game. It's really a kind of celebration of that first three Mortal Kombat games, the 2D era, you know, the custom combos, the juggles, and everything that kind of like was really established with Mortal Kombat with the juggling. But then we added, you know, a lot of layers in terms of our fighting mechanic with our super meter here, as well as the just the whole big palette of special moves for players to do to actually, you know, create their own custom combos. That's the whole theme of our fighting mechanic.
I can certainly say it looks awesome.
Yeah, we're excited. We'll show you, hopefully we can show you a fatality here with this.
No pressure, John, no pressure, Bob.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the controls for a second. I see those guys using the D-pad, I see you using the face buttons. What do you got going on?
Yeah, we have, again, going back to the 2D combat, we're really excited about, you know, just that kind of, we don't have to worry about, you know, circling around characters, going in and out. The whole goal is to just kind of open the doors for pop-up combos and create your own fatalities or your own special moves. The main emphasis in terms of like, we have the punching and kicking, but you also have the throw button. You have what's a move for the X-ray move, which is a great feature we can show you here. That kind of like does like this internal damage on the characters. Each character has their own kind of X-ray move that they can perform to kind of do damage to the inside. That's when your life meter is filled up. Here's another one here from Sub-Zero. He actually crushes your liver, freezes it, and crushes it. So.
Wow. So you guys almost have taken the idea of a little bit of fatality action and kind of extended into the game itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go.
So here's Scorpion's fatality. Check out the damage that's done on the characters. It's really, you know, easily the most sophisticated kind of presentation of blood, guts, and gore that have been in a Mortal Kombat
Yeah, it looked
game.
like for a second I saw Scorpion's top of his head kind of.
Oh yeah. When you're done in a fight with this game, you absolutely, your character looks like he's been in a ridiculously brutal battle here.
E3 was a hit. Fans got hands-on with the demo and experienced the revamped gameplay firsthand. The beta featured just 8 playable characters: Scorpion, Mileena, Reptile, Sub-Zero, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Nightwolf, and Cyrax. Ed Boon, always front and center, gave interviews explaining the game's vision. He confirmed that the new Mortal Kombat would be a retelling, one that picks up after the ending of Mortal Kombat Armageddon, reimagining the events of the original trilogy.
Hey everyone, this is Randy. We're on the E3 2010 show floor with the man himself, Ed Boon, who's going to talk to us about Mortal Kombat. Now, this is the first time we've actually showed off the game. Now, this is technically the 9th game in the franchise. Which of your previous games do you think is the spiritual, I guess, successor to?
This is probably the most sophisticated presentation of Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, maybe I will put them together. We're really kind of returning to a number of the things that made everybody, the favorite parts of Mortal Kombat. The 2D gameplay, bringing back fatalities in the traditional sense, and getting a much deeper fighting system. So we feel like the combination of those with the nostalgia of seeing your favorite characters and background presented in today's technology is what makes this Mortal Kombat special.
So for the Mortal Kombat fans out there, Ed, can you tell us at what point in the Mortal Kombat storyline the events in the game take place?
You know what? The game kind of starts at the end of Armageddon, but then we're doing like a time travel event back to the events of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. So it's a really interesting twist to the whole Mortal Kombat thing. You're going to be seeing a lot of the events from the first 3 games with a new twist on it, with different events happening, and it's a little bit of like a Back to the Future type approach to the series.
Now tell us about the characters you'll be choosing for the final lineup. All the ones we've seen so far have been like a mix from, I guess, the earlier games.
Yeah, again, the theme of this whole Mortal Kombat game is the return of the kind of favorite thing. So we're really putting a lot of emphasis on the classic characters, the ones that everybody likes to see the most: Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, Kung Lao. Those are the ones that we're really gonna really want to do a fan service to.
We can expect a lot of the classic guys to come back, is that?
Yeah. If you have a favorite Mortal Kombat character from the earlier era, most likely it's going to be in the game.
Now, in terms of, I guess, the newest things you're bringing to the series, it's basically 2 character fights. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we kind of have a Mortal Kombat-esque, tag team battle that we have in the game. We're really utilizing a lot of the special moves from our characters within tag. So characters can come in with a special move that can be used in a combo. The whole theory with our kind of new fighting engine is custom combos. That's what we really want to exploit as much as possible.
Can you talk about online at this stage at all? What are your plans?
Absolutely. We haven't revealed all of the online features, but we're definitely adding a number of online features to kind of promote the whole community aspect. We want multiple people to gather and play and kind of socialize in that whole experience. And that's our online features are really kind of promoting that. There's obviously the quick one-on-one gameplay, but our real focus is on groups of people, kind of like duplicating that arcade experience. Winner stays.
Thanks for that, Ed. One last question. Can you tell us when the game's out and what platforms we can expect it on?
We're expecting the game to be ready in the spring of 2011 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Thanks very much, Ed. That was Ed Boon on Mortal Kombat. Check out GameSpot for more E3 2010 coverage.
By January 2011, it was officially announced that Mortal Kombat will release on April 19th. Development for the game went smoothly, and despite a ban in Australia, Mortal Kombat 9 launched without any major setbacks. The game dropped right on schedule, and everything went off without a hitch.
Dating all the way back to the very first Mortal Kombat, I actually worked in an arcade at the time. I remember coming into work and hearing the sound of people going, making these loud screams and yells and cheers because they were seeing something they had never seen before.
Fatalities are awesome in that it's a perfect way to end a match. It's a good way to show that you dominated over your defeated opponent.
What makes the fatalities awesome, I think, is the sense of humor to them. And I know it took me a while to get my arms around the mentality of them myself. And it's, they're very graphic and very disturbing and disgusting, but there's an underlying humor to them that certainly is what defines my favorite ones.
I think a lot of the casual players, specifically pick up Mortal Kombat, are always looking up, what are the fatalities, how gruesome they are, even finding out, unlocking them through the game and stuff like that.
Initially, we try and come up with a brainstorming session, kind of get some ideas, or think about stuff, and then we kind of all get together, kind of bounce ideas off each other a little bit, and kind of formulate one really great idea out of all of us.
And from there, we do a couple practices, try to figure out the timing, things like that. We go in the studio, we shoot the actual motion. From there, we take the data, process it, get it into the computer, exaggerate it well beyond whatever we shot so that we get this really great performance with all the gruesome, brutal things that people come to expect from Mortal Kombat.
So once all of the action had been defined, we would make sure that blood, any of the magic, any of the other visuals that don't fall under either environments or characters would get put into the cinemas.
The most fun I had was actually the one fatality actually in particular was the Kung Lao, one of the iconic ones that have been used in a lot of the marketing now, when he lays down his hat and pulls the unsuspecting victim through it.
Carlos is he's a huge character in the studio, and he likes to keep the mood upbeat.
The best part that I love about these fatalities is I get to beat up on Rick O'Mara, and he also gets to, perform his fatalities on me.
I actually remember when we were shooting the Cabal fatality where the victim falls on the hook swords, and you had Tony supporting Carlos as Carlos is falling over, and it was just hilarious because when you look at the raw data up on the screen, you don't see Tony there, so he fell and it looked so perfect. It was hilarious.
Maybe about like the third or fourth take, we start getting into more or less of the vision of the actual fatality, where you're getting into, I really need to stab these knives into these guys' clavicle, so that way the lightning will strike. When you're doing it the first or second time, you're like, I really don't want to hurt, the other actor. When the other actor gives you the cue, he's like, hey man, just let go and really hit my clavs. Having somebody able to draw off all that emotional content and trying to get the best performance.
My role on fatalities was to make sure that once everything else was in place, that we had visual effects for the fatalities. So once all of the action had been defined, we would make sure that blood, any of the magic, any of the visuals that don't fall under either environments or characters would get put into the cinemas. Probably my favorite and most successful effects are the ones where we involve the most sleight of hand. The classic reptile fatality, getting his tongue to work, was one of those real coups. We use basically a beam, just an ability in the engine to draw a mesh from one point to another, basically attaching one end to Reptile's head and one end to the victim's head, and then introducing material-driven noise to that to make it seem as though there's an elastic tongue where really it's just a code-driven mesh that's going from one point to another.
Some of the key points that we really try to focus on is to make sure that every fatality fits into the same look and feel as the others. We don't want one or another to kind of feel different.
One of the fatalities that gave us a lot of trouble early on was the Sector fatality, where all the missiles fly out, and we had been telling our artists, let's leave it at about 6, and then all these missiles flying around and all these particle effects going off. We were wondering how we were going to pull that one in, but as it turned out, we managed to make it work.
Every fatality had its own challenges, ranging from just making the blood look good, and blood from the outset is a tricky thing to get right when we have to do a graphic that will update 60 times a second.
The best fatalities are the ones that are nasty. They're really violent, but at the same time have a comedic tone to it. Those are always the best ones. Most of them actually have a comedic tone to it, and I think that's what makes fatalities popular.
Round 2.
Here's a quick spoiler alert, as I'm about to tell the story behind Mortal Kombat 9, as well as light spoilers from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Now, if you're not a fan of spoilers, please advance this video to the gameplay overview section, as seen on the timeline below. Let's dive into this. If you remember Mortal Kombat Armageddon, that game ended with the Ultimate Showdown, a massive war featuring every character in the franchise. Mortal Kombat 9 picks up right at the end of that event, showing us the final moments of the Midway era. That battlefield is covered in the bodies of fallen heroes and villains, with vultures circling above. But atop the Armageddon Tower, the fight's not over just yet. Raiden and Shao Kahn are locked in a brutal final battle. And let's just say Shao Kahn's got the upper hand. He's tossing Raiden around like a rag doll, shouting curses at the Elder Gods while doing it. As Raiden gets slammed to the ground, he drops his amulet. In desperation, he clutches it and begins to chant, trying to send a message to his past self before it's too late. Just as Shao Kahn delivers what looks like the final blow, Raiden whispers one cryptic message.
He must win.
In that moment, a surge of energy flashes through time, and we start seeing visions of the past, Onaga's rise, the fireplace meeting from Deadly Alliance, Raiden discovering Liu Kang's lifeless body at the Wuxi Academy. It's a rapid rewind through everything that led us here, all culminating in a vision watching a younger Raiden right as he's about to enter the first Mortal Kombat tournament on Shang Tsung's island. Raiden stumbles slightly, clearly shaken. Liu Kang notices something is off and asks, "What's wrong?" Raiden sees his amulet already beginning to crack, but he brushes it off, keeping his focus on the task at hand. The tournament is about to begin.
Lord Raiden, what is wrong?
Strange visions.
Your amulet.
It is nothing, Liu Kang. The tournament begins.
Combatants, I am Shang Tsung. In the coming days, each of you will fight. Some are here of their own volition. Others were brought here by chance.
As the tournament kicks off, we get a quick introduction to some of our key players. Johnny Cage is seen flirting with Sonya Blade, bragging about his movie career trying to impress her. But Sonya's got bigger priorities. She's focused on tracking down Kano, who's wanted for some serious criminal activity. When Kano finally shows up, we shift back to Shang Tsung, who announces the rules and stakes of the tournament. This isn't just a fight for glory. This is Earthrealm's last chance. Outworld has won 9 straight tournaments, and if they win one more, Earth falls. Shang Tsung declares himself the final challenge, and Johnny Cage, being Johnny Cage, mocks his age. In a blink of an eye, Shang Tsung appears behind him and reminds everyone looks can be deceiving. Because of his attitude, Johnny is thrown into the first fight against Reptile. Despite not fully understanding the gravity of the situation, Cage wins. He's cocky, proud, until he's matched up next against Baraka. Thinking Baraka's gnarly blades are part of a costume, Johnny doesn't even realize he's facing a Tarkatan warrior from Outworld. But he wins once again. Shang Tsung then orders Johnny to finish Baraka, but Cage refuses. Impressed by his mercy, Shang Tsung lets go for now, and the crowd begins to disperse. Johnny, still trying to impress Sonya, goes looking for her until he's stopped by Liu Kang and Raiden. They compliment his fighting, but Johnny shrugs him off, still assuming this is all some elaborate Hollywood stunt. Liu Kang, dead serious, warns him that the threat is real. Raiden steps in trying to explain the true stakes, giving Johnny a glimpse of the bigger picture. But Cage, being Cage, still isn't buying it.
The tournament will resume at dawn.
What, that's it? Really? Now where'd that hottie go?
You fought well.
Thanks. Nice hat.
You should be more respectful of Lord Raiden. He is the protector of Earthrealm, the god of thunder.
Look, I don't know what kind of role-playing you guys are into, but count me out.
This tournament is more than a chance for personal glory. We are fighting for the very survival of Earthrealm.
What are you talking about?
Your last opponent was Tarkatan. He was born with those blades.
Yeah, those things are real.
He represents Outworld. Had you lost, the Emperor Shao Kahn would have come one step closer to physically absorbing our world into his.
Outworld, yeah, right.
The Elder Gods created the Mortal Kombat tournament to give Earthrealm a chance to defend itself. But if we lose this time, Shao Kahn will conquer all.
Dun dun dun! Look, guys, I'm an actor. I save the world for the cameras. If this Emperor is really a threat, call the military. Me? I've got a date with a blonde. Ciao.
What do you see in him?
He is a hero, Liu Kang, though he may not yet know it.
Over at the pit, we find Sonya Blade trying to make contact with her Special Forces unit. She's desperate to inform them that Kano has captured Jax and she's entering the tournament to save his life. Before she can get through, Johnny Cage shows up, once again trying to flirt with her. She's not having it. When he calls her baby, Sonya shuts him down, literally by hitting him in the face, which leads to a fight. Johnny comes out on top, but she still refuses his help. Then, just brushing off the encounter, Kano appears from behind and tosses Johnny over to the side of the pit. As Kano starts torturing Sonya, Cage hangs from a ledge, barely holding on until he flips himself back onto the platform and challenges Kano to a fight. Once again, Johnny proves himself, defeating Kano in battle. This time, he approaches Sonya with a little more humility and respect. She opens up and tells him who Kano really is and why she's truly here. After that, Kano vanishes and Sonya continues her mission to find Jax.
Throw that on your Barbie, shrimp.
Thanks.
No problem. Who is that guy anyway?
His name's Kano. He was an informant in our Black Dragon investigation. Big-time arms dealers. Turns out he was their leader, giving us the runaround. A lot of our guys got killed because of him.
So that's not a costume? You're actual military?
Special forces.
Get out. So you know about this threat to the world stuff, right? Raiden called in the cavalry.
Raiden? No idea who you're talking about. Damn.
He can't be far.
He'll have to wait. I appreciate your help, Cage.
Johnny.
But right now I've got things to take care of. My CO is locked up on this island somewhere. I have to find him.
Later, inside Goro's lair, Sonya finds Jax, locked up and barely conscious. He urges her to leave before things get worse, but she refuses to leave without him. That's when Shang Tsung appears, telling Sonya he's been expecting her. He pits her against Sub-Zero, and despite the odds, Sonya defeats him. As the dust settles, Raiden teleports into the cell. Sonya, still fired up, threatens Shang Tsung, but before she can act, Shang Tsung asks if this is a challenge. Raiden steps in, having a vision of Liu Kang defeating Shang Tsung, and decides Sonya must not be the one to face him. Instead, Raiden challenges her to a quick fight. As Sonya gains the upper hand, Raiden tells her to shield her eyes. Then, releasing a blinding flash of light, just long enough to help her break out Jax and escape. Outside, Sonya manages to re-establish contact with Special Forces, but before backup can arrive, Katana and Jade appear, telling her she can't leave. Sonya refuses to back down and takes on both Edenian warriors head-on, defeating them. Just as she sees a support chopper approaching in the sky, Kano shows up with Shang Tsung and shoots it down. Shang Tsung announces she has another challenger, Kano, again. Sonya and Kano face off in one final battle, and she defeats him decisively. But before she can make the arrest, Shang Tsung declares that Kano isn't her prisoner, and walks off with Kano, Jade, and Katana in tow. Raiden appears shortly after, this time with Johnny Cage and Liu Kang. He heals Jax and explains the greater threat looming over Earthrealm. Sonya, now understanding the bigger picture, pledges her support to Raiden and the Resistance.
Sonya, you all right? Hey, looks like you found him. What's up, Sarge?
He's a... Hey, what are you doing?
It's okay. He's cool.
Jax!
Seriously, he's cool.
That's amazing.
Told you. Turns out he's a god.
Thank you, Raiden.
Gratitude is unnecessary. I have foreseen events, like memories of my future. They lead me to believe that you are all connected to Earthrealm's fate.
What have you foreseen?
In my visions, Shao Kahn becomes invincible. He destroys all life in Earthrealm. We will all die. I believe these flashes are a guide to defeating Shao Kahn, but disrupting the flow of time can have serious consequences.
I'm not worried. I bet you can win this thing no problem.
Unless directly challenged, I cannot participate.
What should we do besides standing around looking pretty?
For now, the tournament must run its course.
All right then. We're with you, Raiden.
Back in the courtyard, a new day begins, and Raiden has another vision. This time, it's of a masked guard who reveals himself to be none other than Kung Lao. As Raiden approaches him, Shang Tsung introduces the next fighter in the tournament, Scorpion. Now a vengeful specter of the Netherrealm, Scorpion has been resurrected by Quan Chi. His one mission? Revenge. He wants Sub-Zero dead for wiping out his clan and family. Raiden, sensing Kung Lao's ambition, warns him that he wasn't chosen by the Wuxi Academy. Liu Kang was. But Kung Lao insists he's Liu Kang's equal. He removes his mask and steps up to prove himself in a fight against Scorpion. Unfortunately, his determination isn't enough. Kung Lao loses. As he lies defeated, Liu Kang rushes to his side, and Raiden scolds him for disobeying orders. Meanwhile, Scorpion, still hungry for vengeance, demands his fight with Sub-Zero. Just then, Raiden experiences another vision. Scorpion murdering Sub-Zero and ripping out his spine, which ultimately leads to Sub-Zero's transformation into Noob Saibot. As Raiden walks away with Kung Lao, Shang Tsung reminds Scorpion that he demands nothing but offers him another challenge. Nightwolf. Scorpion accepts and wins once again. After the fight, Raiden approaches Scorpion with a bold offer. Spare Sub-Zero, and the Elder Gods will return his family to the realm of the living, but only if he lets Sub-Zero live.
Impressive start.
You waste my time, sorcerer! Restraint, Scorpion!
You will fight Sub-Zero soon enough.
Scorpion, I understand your desire for revenge, but Nightwolf is right. There are other ways in which you may find peace.
Sub-Zero deserves death.
Defeat Sub-Zero if you must, but do not kill him. I fear his death will give rise to a more treacherous foe.
I will have my revenge.
Spare Sub-Zero's life, and I will request that the Elder Gods return the Shirai Ryu to the realm of mortals.
Since the rain started falling, the tournament resumes indoors, where Scorpion walks in. As he enters, Cyrax and Sector are deep in conversation, discussing the Grandmaster's Cyber Initiative, a plan to automate the Lin Kuei warriors and strip them of their free will. The two debate the morality of the plan. Sector supports it, while Cyrax questions its ethics. Scorpion interrupts them, and after a few taunts, Cyrax shoves him. Shang Tsung sees this as a challenge, and the fight is on. Scorpion defeats both Cyrax and Sector back to back. Afterward, he boldly announces that while he seeks revenge, he won't kill Sub-Zero. But then, Sub-Zero appears, seemingly out of nowhere. Scorpion grabs him and drags him into the Netherrealm to settle things once and for all. In an intense battle, Scorpion defeats Sub-Zero. As he stands over his rival, he remembers the deal he made with Raiden. If he spares Sub-Zero, his family will be restored to life. That's when Quan Chi shows up. He goats Scorpion into breaking his vow. He conjures illusions, visions of the Lin Kuei slaughtering the Shirai Ryu, and of Sub-Zero himself eliminating Scorpion's wife and child. Overcome with rage, Scorpion loses control. He ignores his promise to Raiden, and in a fiery blaze, burns Sub-Zero alive, reducing him to a charred corpse. Back on the island, Scorpion reappears, ashamed of his actions, and vanishes without a trace.
Ouch.
As the smoke clears, Raiden walks over to Sub-Zero's remains, stunned by what just occurred. While staring at the charred body, Cyrax returns. This triggers a memory in Raiden of his battle with Shinnok and Quan Chi during the events of Mythologies, just 2 years before the tournament. Cyrax, enraged over Scorpion's betrayal, vows revenge. He and Raiden exchange words, diving into the Lin Kuei's history and the implications of their loyalty to Outworld. When Raiden brings up the Cyber Initiative, Cyrax hesitates. He admits that he's against the plan, giving up free will above blind obedience. Raiden challenges Cyrax to think deeper, not just about Earthrealm, but about how the Lin Kuei's alliance with Shang Tsung could spell disaster for his realm too. Cyrax, visibly conflicted, walks away, unaware that Baraka is watching from the shadows. Later, outside near the pit, Cyrax is ambushed by both Baraka and Shiva, who inform him that Shang Tsung has placed a bounty on his head. Cyrax, realizing he's now a target, takes them both on and wins. Fueled by betrayal, he makes his way to the courtyard where he sees Shang Tsung talking to Sector. Cyrax confronts Shang Tsung, demanding answers. Sector tries to smooth things over, claiming Cyrax is still loyal to the Lin Kuei's ideals. But when Johnny Cage is brought in, Shang Tsung orders Cyrax to kill him. Cyrax wins the fight, but refuses to finish Johnny Cage, enraging both Shang Tsung and Sector. Sector then steps in to fight Cyrax himself, but Cyrax stands firm and defeats him too, cementing his rejection of the Lin Kuei's control.
Tell the Grand Master I am finished. No one leaves the Lin Kuei.
Back in Shang Tsung's throne room, a new fighter is introduced. Ermac, a fusion of thousands of souls brought to life by Shao Kahn himself. The lone Earthrealm warrior, Liu Kang, steps up, determined to protect his realm. He defeats Ermac in battle, impressing both Shang Tsung and Katana. Afterward, Katana tells Shang Tsung she wants to face Liu Kang herself to take him out of the tournament personally. He gives her permission. The next day, Liu Kang is outside speaking with Raiden, who warns him to stay focused and trust his training. Once Raiden leaves, Katana tries to launch a surprise attack, but Liu Kang defeats her. Katana, expecting death, accepts her fate, but Liu Kang refuses to kill her, telling her that just because she's lost doesn't mean she has to die. Learning that Shao Kahn is her father, Liu Kang advises her to pretend the fight never happened so she won't face punishment. As Katana contemplates his words, we return to the courtyard where Liu Kang now faces a tag team match, Scorpion and Quan Chi. Against the odds, Liu Kang defeats both, impressing everyone, even Shang Tsung. But he's not done yet. Next up is the legendary Shokan warrior, Goro. Liu Kang is teleported to Goro's lair where the two clash in a brutal battle. Liu Kang comes out on top once again. Back in Shang Tsung's throne room, the crowd awaits in suspense to see who will emerge victorious from the fight. The portal opens and Liu Kang steps out. He's defeated Goro. Now there's only one fight left. Liu Kang versus Shang Tsung. With everything on the line, Liu Kang gives it his all and emerges as the champion of the tournament.
Say it. I concede.
Yeah!
Well done, my friend.
He has saved Earthrealm.
That was awesome, Liu Kang.
Congratulations, MVP, baby.
With Shang Tsung defeated, we return to Shao Kahn's throne room, where the sorcerer is being berated for his failure. Shao Kahn, furious, considers executing him on the spot, but Shang Tsung pleads for one last chance. He proposes a new plan, one that involves taking Earthrealm by force. Intrigued, Shao Kahn calls out the execution and listens. We then cut to the Wuxi Academy, where Liu Kang is being honored for his victory in the tournament. As night falls, the monks celebrate while Raiden and Jax quietly observe from above, but Raiden can't enjoy the moment. He notices his amulet is still cracked, a sign that the timeline has not changed for the better. He begins to wonder, who exactly does "he must win" refer to? Suddenly, Shang Tsung appears, young and revitalized. He delivers a message from Shao Kahn, a proposal for a single final tournament held in Outworld that would override the system of 10 consecutive victories. If Earthrealm loses, it will be absorbed, but if they win, Shao Kahn promises to abandon his conquest forever. Raiden firmly refuses. In response, a portal opens and Tarkatan warriors storm through, attacking the monks of the Wuxi Academy. Raiden leaps into battle against Shang Tsung while Jax jumps into the fray to protect the monks. Though Jack holds his own, he's eventually overwhelmed and knocked unconscious.
During our combat and escape, I now realize what we must do.
Anybody get the number that... Wait, where's Sonya?
Shang Tsung has taken her.
We've got to find her.
We must follow them.
Shang Tsung has made it clear that Earthrealm will be under constant threat unless I agree to a new tournament.
Another vision?
Yes. I saw Liu Kang win the proposed tournament. I believe we must attend. But my earlier vision of your victory over Shang Tsung was not the solution I sought. Therefore, this premonition must show an event I need to change. Perhaps "he must win" refers to another. Hear me, Elder Gods. I accept the terms proposed by Shao Kahn. We go to Outworld.
In Shao Kahn's throne room, Raiden, Jax, and Johnny Cage appear, while Liu Kang and Kung Lao break off to rescue the imprisoned Shaolin Masters. Jax, determined to find Sonya Blade, steps up. Shang Tsung mocks his eagerness and volunteers him to fight in the first new tournament. Jax's first opponent is Baraka, and after an intense match, Jax emerges victorious. He demands to know where Sonya is, but before he can get answers, Reptile interrupts to deliver news, and Shang Tsung and the tournament is briefly postponed. As a group regathers, Raiden has another troubling vision, this time of Sonya possibly being executed. With no time to waste, they set out to find her. During the search, Cage makes another move on Sonya, causing tension with Jax. The two fight it out, with Jax beating Cage down until Raiden steps in and urges restraint. Their journey leads them to the armory, where Jade confronts them for trespassing. Jax steps forward again and defeats her. Afterward, he apologized to Johnny Cage for their earlier fight, and the group presses on. Down in the sewers, Shiva and a group of Oni are gambling while Sonya is being held captive. Jax and the team arrive just in time. After Jax takes out one of the Oni, he faces off against Shiva and defeats her. After freeing Sonya, she detects two strange text signals, readings that don't seem native to Outworld. Raiden is intrigued and insists they investigate. The group decides to split up. Raiden pairs with Cage, while Jax and Sonya head in the other direction. The two signals turn out to be none other than Smoke and the second Sub-Zero, both sent to investigate the death of the first Sub-Zero.
We should stay together, Tundra. Assuming your brother's identity will certainly draw attention. Not all of it welcome.
You are right, Smoke. But assuming Bi-Han's identity is the best way to honor him.
Let us proceed then. Sub-Zero.
We should separate. Our fellow Lin Kuei will not be far behind once our absence is discovered.
If only they had been more forthcoming with the details of your brother's demise. We will find Shang Tsung. He will tell us all he knows.
If he killed Bi-Han, he will die. Be stealthful as the night.
And deadly as the dawn.
As the search continues, Katana confronts Smoke for trespassing at Outworld. The two fight and Smoke comes out on top. He pushes deeper into the living forest where he stumbles upon Shang Tsung and Kano testing powerful Earthrealm weapons. Demanding answers about Bi-Han's death, Smoke challenges them, but Kano steps up first and loses. After that, Shang Tsung reappears, this time shapeshifted into Bi-Han in an attempt to deceive Smoke. Enraged, Smoke sees through the illusion and defeats both Shang Tsung and Reptile. Just as he starts demanding answers again, he is attacked by an unseen enemy. It turns out to be Sector, but he's no longer human. He has fully undergone the Cyber Initiative and become a mechanized version of his former self. Smoke and Sector battle it out, and Smoke once again wins. But before Shang Tsung's forces can swarm in, Raiden teleports in and rescues Smoke from being captured by the Lin Kuei.
There is great energy nearby.
Ray dude?
They must not take him.
Thank you, Lord Raiden. I am called Smoke. Why are you here in Outworld?
To participate in a tournament to save Earthrealm. Join us, Smoke.
Forgive me, but if Sector was searching for me, he is hunting Sub-Zero as well.
Sub-Zero? Call me crazy with a K, but didn't we see him die?
The Grand Master intends to turn every Lin Kuei into a cyborg. My friend is in danger.
The tournament. I have a feeling your friend will be there.
Then let us go. Sub-Zero's soul depends on it.
We now shift focus to Sub-Zero, seen freezing an opponent until he's confronted by Cyrax, who demands he returns to the Lin Kuei Temple and submit to the Cyber Initiative. Sub-Zero firmly refuses. He won't give up his soul. A fight breaks out, and Sub-Zero comes out on top. Shortly after, Sonya and Jax arrive. They share the intel Sub-Zero's been looking for the identity of his brother, Bi-Han's assassin. Sub-Zero thanks him for the cooperation, but before they can regroup, Ermac appears and blasts Jax with a devastating energy attack, blowing off his arms. This sets up a battle between Sub-Zero and Ermac, with Sub-Zero emerging victorious.
I will face the Lin Kuei when my task is done, not before.
The readings were getting stronger and now they're gone. Sub-Zero? But you're dead.
I am not the Sub-Zero you speak of. He was my brother.
Your brother?
I am only here to learn Sub-Zero's fate.
He was killed by someone named Scorpion.
Where would I find him?
Try the Colosseum. That's where...
You have disturbed our regeneration process. Ermac. Gotcha!
Stay with me, Jax.
We will break you as well. Not if I break you first.
After the fight, Sub-Zero informs Sonya of a portal nearby, located to the south, which leads back to Earthrealm. She carries the wounded Jax towards the portal, while Sub-Zero continues his mission to find his brother's killer. Back in the Outworld Coliseum, Katana is fighting a Shaolin warrior. When it's time to eliminate him, she hesitates. Displeased, Shao Kahn finishes the warrior himself and orders Katana to stand by his side. As she approaches, Sub-Zero enters and boldly demands to fight Scorpion to avenge Bi-Han. Annoyed by Sub-Zero's defiance, Shang Tsung sends Reptile to take him down, but Sub-Zero wins once again. Still determined to face his brother's killer, Sub-Zero confronts Shao Kahn directly. Impressed by his resolve, Shao Kahn grants his request. Sub-Zero finally faces Scorpion and defeats him, but his victory is short-lived. Out of nowhere, Cyrax and Sector appear and demand Sub-Zero's compliance with the Cyber Initiative. He refuses again, stating he will not be turned. But this time, they overpower him and take him away.
Who now interrupts the Emperor's tournament?
Sub-Zero? No!
You cannot save him. Stay here, or they will take you as well.
We request that we may return him to our temple for judgment. And what do I gain from granting this bold request?
The Lin Kuei's loyalty and service.
Very well. He is yours.
The flow of time has been changed. I spared Smoke this fate, only to watch this new Sub-Zero fall.
No, I will not be turned!
After the Sub-Zero capture, Kitana speaks with Shao Kahn, only to be berated for failing to prevent the Lin Kuei intrusion. Enraged, Shao Kahn tells her to leave his sight. Humiliated and disillusioned, Kitana walks away, visibly shaken. Raiden, sensing a potential ally, seizes as an opportunity to reach out. Alongside Johnny Cage, he follows her. Meanwhile, Smoke is seen struggling with the guilt and sorrow over Sub-Zero's fate. As Kitana wanders off, she's stopped by Jade, who insists on accompanying her. But Kitana, frustrated and feeling like a child being watched, demands to be left alone. Jade reluctantly agrees. Just then, Raiden, Cage, and Smoke appear peacefully, approaching Kitana. But in full princess mode, Kitana perceives it as treachery and lashes out. She fights both Johnny and Smoke and defeats them. Before she can finish Johnny, Raiden steps in and appeals to her conscience. He reminds her that even Liu Kang believes she is not a killer. Slowly, she lowers her fists and finally listens. Raiden brings up her mother, Sindel, but when he mentions her, he gets a vision of her resurrection and questions it. Kitana is confused. Sindel is supposed to be dead. As Kitana demands answers, Raiden urges her to go to Shang Tsung's flesh pits, promising she'll find the truth there. As Kitana ventures through the living forest, she's once again confronted by Jade, who reveals that she knows Kitana's destination and has orders to stop her by command of Shao Kahn. Not wanting to be held back, Kitana fights Jade and defeats her. Eventually, Kitana makes it to the flesh pits, and what she sees horrifies her. Shao Kahn has been creating clones of warriors, one of which is nearly complete. Her clone, Mileena.
What in the name of... She looks like me. Huh? Sister. So pretty, so fair, so sad and alone. Come, let us be a family. You are not my family. You are a monstrosity.
The two clash in a brutal fight, with Kitana coming out on top. Enraged by this betrayal, she confronts Shang Tsung, defeats him, and drags his battered body before Shao Kahn. To her shock, Shao Kahn praises Shang Tsung's actions and reveals the truth. He is not her father. Her real father was an Edenian king whom Shao Kahn killed during Outworld's invasion of Edenia. He took Queen Sindel as his bride and raised Kitana as a tool. Devastated, Kitana realizes Raiden was right all along. Shao Kahn orders her execution and calls for his true daughter, Mileena. Meanwhile, Jade, who overheard the entire exchange, launches a rescue mission. First, she defeats Baraka in the armory, then takes down Shiva, who's guarding Katana in the tower. Just as she's about to free Katana, the angry voices of Shao Kahn and Mileena echo through the halls. They are coming. Katana urges Jade to flee and warn Raiden. As Jade escapes, she's intercepted by Mileena. The two face off and Jade defeats her. But just as she's catching her breath, Raiden and his group, now joined by Liu Kang and Kung Lao, arrive. Still grieving Sub-Zero's fate, Smoke mistakes Mileena for Katana and attacks Jade for not helping her. Despite Raiden and Jade trying to explain the truth, he doesn't listen, and Jade is forced to fight him. She wins, and then shares everything she's learned with Raiden.
Lord Raiden, I come at the request
Lord? I was with Smoke. I thought she was a bad guy. Girl. Guess he turned another one. What's Raiden got that I haven't got?
Godlike power? A personality that is not at all like sanding paper?
Jerks.
She will be executed. Katana does not have much time.
Katana? Executed? Where is she?
Held captive in the tower of Shao Kahn's fortress.
I am not pleased with this outcome either, Liu Kang. But there is no time. We must return to the tournament.
But you are responsible for her capture! You persuaded her to turn against Shao Kahn!
Lord Raiden, we can free her as others fight in our stead and join you thereafter.
Very well.
We will meet you at the Colosseum.
The group splits up again, with Liu Kang and Kung Lao heading off to rescue Katana once and for all. They return to the tower where she was last seen, but she's already been relocated. Just then, both side doors fly open, revealing Shiva and Noob Saibot. They inform the monks that Katana is no longer there. Without hesitation, Liu Kang engages Shiva, while Kung Lao takes on Noob Saibot. Kung Lao wins the battle and has a moment where he nearly recognizes Noob, but shrugs it off and joins Liu Kang, who's still fighting Shiva. As they regroup, Kung Lao cracks a joke about Shiva's 4 arms right before another 4-armed warrior shows up, Goro, looking for a rematch against Liu Kang. But Kung Lao steps in instead. He battles Goro and defeats him. The two monks press Goro for Katana's location, and Goro finally gives in, revealing she's being held at the Colosseum where she's scheduled for execution. The monks rush to the Colosseum. Once there, Raiden informs them of the current situation. Smoke and Johnny Cage have been defeated, while Sonya and Jax have returned to Earthrealm. Raiden still believes that Liu Kang must be the one to defeat Shao Kahn, and is foretold in his visions. But when Shao Kahn demands a champion, Raiden chooses Kung Lao instead, his only remaining option. Kung Lao's first opponent is none other than a deadly alliance of Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. He defeats them both, celebrating what he believes is a final victory. But the celebration is short-lived. Shao Kahn sends out another Shokan warrior, Kintaro, the fearsome tiger beast. Kung Lao fights valiantly and defeats Kintaro as well. But as he raises his arms in triumph, Shao Kahn blindsides him with a fatal blow, killing Kung Lao on the spot. Liu Kang, devastated and enraged, lunges at Shao Kahn and defeats him in a brutal battle, just as Raiden foresaw in his vision, but his amulet remains cracked.
On your feet! For Kung Lao, the Shaolin, and Earthrealm! I cannot believe Earthrealm has won.
The Elder Gods have spoken. Earthrealm is free of Shao Kahn forever. But the price of victory was almost too steep to pay. Kung Lao's death is my fault. I encouraged him. Our triumph was not meant to be achieved in this way. I see now. He must win refers to you. But to prevent Armageddon, you needed to defeat Shao Kahn, not Shang Tsung. It cannot be. Shao Kahn is dead. Yet the future remains unchanged.
Back in Shao Kahn's throne room, the Outworld War Council is in chaos. Baraka, Goro, Melina, Shiva, Ermac, Cyrax, Sector, Shang Tsung, and Motaro debate who should take control in Shao Kahn's absence. Some even suggest Melina should rule. But before a decision can be made, Shao Kahn returns, very much alive, with Quan Chi by his side. Everyone is stunned. Shao Kahn, furious, blames Shang Tsung for the idea of the tournament in the first place. Because of that loss, Outworld can no longer merge with Earthrealm under the Elder Gods' rules. But Quan Chi steps in with a new idea, one that bypasses the Elder Gods entirely: an invasion. Using interrealm politics and loopholes, Quan Chi offers Shao Kahn the ultimate trump card, one that will reshape the rules entirely.
You live! I am not so easily killed. Quan Chi accelerated my recovery.
Emperor,
Not one word. Because of you, Outworld can no longer merge with Earthrealm.
There may yet be an alternative, Emperor. Invasion.
Invasion? Do you mock me? Sindel's ward prevents me from setting foot in Earthrealm.
Have you considered why your wife and Empress chose to betray you in this particular fashion?
Of course. But even after millennia, her motives are a mystery.
She realized that the safeguards afforded by the Elder Gods through mortal combat are but fiction. She sacrificed herself to give protection the Elder Gods could not, so Earthrealm could not suffer as had Edenia.
Indeed.
I have mastered the spells necessary for her resurrection. Her ward will be nullified, and with it, the barrier that prevents your entry into Earthrealm. I will return her to you, of course. You will find her much more cooperative.
This is a very magnanimous offer.
I wish only to serve, Emperor.
I am weary of sorcerers, Quan Chi. Prove your worth. Bring her to me.
Sindel.
Quan Chi?
Shao Kahn looks forward to your return.
The Emperor. Yes. What of Kitana?
Kitana now allies herself with Earthrealm.
Then she is no longer my daughter. Take me to Shao Kahn.
Yes, Empress. The invasion of Earthrealm can now begin.
Back on Earthrealm, a full-scale invasion begins. Outworld's demons pour through portals, and war erupts across the cities. On a rooftop, Cabal and Stryker are surveying the chaos below, counting enemies and sending Retcon back to HQ. But before they can act, Reptile ambushes them, scaling the building with the surprising speed. Cabal is knocked aside, and Stryker steps in to protect him. After a hard-fought battle, Stryker defeats Reptile. Feeling exposed, Stryker decides they need to relocate. Cabal hesitates, but follows. Down in the streets, they run into Melina. She attacks them, forcing Stryker to fight. He wins again, but just as Melina goes for one final strike, Raiden descends from the sky and electrocutes her. As he's approaching Stryker, he's about to say something, but just then, Raiden had a vision of Johnny Cage's death and rushes over to save him. Cabal and Stryker are left stunned until things get worse. Kentaro appears. The two try to split up and distract him, but it's no use. Kentaro immobilizes Cabal, setting him ablaze. Stryker is left alone to face the warrior and somehow manages to defeat him. Just as he catches his breath, Ermac appears and flings Stryker into a nearby train station. They battle, and Stryker once again survives. His strength catches Raiden's attention. Nightwolf appears and recruits him for the Earthrealm Resistance. Stryker goes outside to check on Cabal, but he's nowhere to be found. We cut to Outworld, where Cabal is being held by Kano. Scarred, burned, and barely breathing, Cabal has survived, but Kano, the man who found him, has his own twisted plans.
Easy there, mate. You've had a rough one.
Kano?
In the flesh.
I was on fire.
Burned to a crisp you were. Good thing I found you.
I'm hideous.
Shang Tsung's magic healed the rest of you, but your lungs...
Take it off.
Can't. It's permanent.
What?
No mask, no breathing.
I'm a freak.
Go on, give him a whirl.
I don't use those anymore.
Yeah, you're all proper police now. The Black Dragon ain't the same without you, mate. You should come back. We're in the money on this war.
You sold those monsters their firepower.
Guilty as charged.
This is your fault.
What are you on about, eh? You're here, ain't you?
I should be dead. Now you're gonna be.
After his fight with Kano, Cabal demands to know everything. He wants the full story on Shao Kahn and the state of Outworld. Kano gives him a rundown, and Cabal insists on being taken directly to Shao Kahn's throne room. There, tensions are already running high. Shao Kahn is furious. Montaro has been killed by Raiden, and he wants vengeance. That's when Sindel steps forward. She volunteers to go to Earthrealm herself and finish what Montaro couldn't. Shao Kahn agrees, but he says he'll need more power. He calls Shang Tsung forward and steals his soul, giving it to Sindel to amplify her strength. Watching from the shadows, Cabal decides Shao Kahn is still no match for him and tries to charge in, but he is stopped by Melina and Noob Saibot. Cabal defeats them both, makes a break for the portal, and escapes back to Earthrealm. There, he comes face to face with Cyber Sub-Zero. The two battle, and Cabal defeats him. As Sub-Zero lies on the ground, Shiva arrives and accuses Cabal of being a Lin Kuei warrior, being he looks like a machine and not a man. Offended, Cabal declares that he is human and not a puppet. They fight and Cabal wins again. After the dust settles, Raiden and Smoke arrive. Impressed, Raiden recruits Cabal and agrees to help Sub-Zero. That night, the Earthrealm warriors work together to restore Sub-Zero's humanity. When he awakens, Sub-Zero is ashamed of his past actions and pledges to make things right. Together, they begin planning their next move.
That's it. Here goes nothing. Certain this will work. Hell no. I've never done this before. Not like there's a manual.
Sub-Zero? Can he hear me?
You should.
Sub-Zero.
Yes, Smoke.
How do you feel? What is it?
I remember the things I have done for Shao Kahn. He cannot be allowed to merge the realms.
Aoka, how can Sub-Zero best help us?
I do not know. My attempts to alter future events have had negative consequences. Sub-Zero should never have undergone this transformation. Enlisting him may only further divert the flow of time.
We need intel, right? Let's send him back to Outworld undercover.
They will be unaware of my defection. I could deceive them.
Back in Shao Kahn's throne room, Sector questions what happened to Cabal. Cyber Sub-Zero lies, claiming he killed him. Sector, suspicious, orders him to follow them to the train station in Earthrealm. There, Sector gives the command to reprogram Sub-Zero and erase his remaining humanity, but Sub-Zero resists and fights back. He defeats Sector and hacks into his programming, uncovering the full scope of the Cyber Initiative and what the Lin Kuei has planned. Sub-Zero then makes his way to the clock tower, where Kano, Goro, and Kentaro are tormenting captured Earthrealm soldiers. As he approaches, Kano mentions that the soldiers are being sent to the St. Dominic's graveyard. Realizing something bigger is at play, Sub-Zero freezes the Shokan warriors and Kano, rescuing the captives. But it doesn't last long. Goro and Kentaro thaw and attack Sub-Zero together, but he defeats them again. Just as the situation stabilizes, the tower begins to shake. Ermac appears and throws the soldiers back into the building. Sub-Zero shields the survivors, defeats Ermac in battle. He then follows the trail to St. Dominic's graveyard, seeking answers about what's going on. And there he learns something a little bit more darker.
This is Sub-Zero.
I've encountered Quan Chi. He seems to be casting a spell.
Raiden, what is it? What did you see?
One of Shao Kahn's Solnados, on a scale I thought unimaginable. All of Earthrealm's souls imprisoned, absorbed by Shao Kahn, multiplying his power.
That is what Sub-Zero has found?
No matter my efforts, the future remains in peril. How could I have failed Earthrealm?
Do not lose faith in the spirits, Raiden. They will guide you, protect you. Sub-Zero, we will disrupt the Solnado.
I will be there momentarily.
Hurry! The spell appears to be nearly complete.
Who is that?
The one Kano warned about. He is mine.
You are not worthy of the name Sub-Zero.
Who are you to judge?
I wore those colors before you.
Bi-Han?
Yes, Kuai Liang. It is I. Quan Chi restored me.
Restored? You and I both. We are flawed copies of our former selves.
I have no flaws. Quan Chi has perfected me.
For what end? To serve the Netherrealm and Outworld?
It suits my purpose.
But brother,
we share blood. We are not brothers.
Then I will not regret your defeat.
At the graveyard, Sub-Zero comes face to face with the dark truth. Quan Chi has completed a ritual, and standing before him is Noob Saibot, the reanimated form of Bi-Han. Before things can spiral further, Nightwolf intervenes. He warns Sub-Zero that his soul is not safe here and urges him to leave. Nightwolf then challenges Quan Chi, defeating him, and is forced to face Noob Saibot. During the fight, one of Nightwolf's kicks launches Noob Saibot directly into the Solnado, destroying it and ending its threat. Nightwolf returns to the group of Earthrealm warriors, where tensions are high. The group begins to question Raiden's visions. Were they guidance or warning? As the group strategizes, Nightwolf confirms the souls are safe, but at that moment, Raiden's amulet cracks even further. Frustrated and desperate, Raiden announces he's going to request an audience with the Elder Gods. Liu Kang protests, but Raiden insists it's the only way to save Earthrealm. Raiden puts Nightwolf in charge during his absence and departs with Liu Kang to seek divine counsel. No sooner than they leave, Sub-Zero is partially linked to the Lin Kuei, senses something. They are surrounded. Lin Kuei warriors storm their location and a full-blown battle erupts. Nightwolf, leading the defense, takes down both Cyrax and Sector in fierce combat. The Lin Kuei forces eventually retreat, but their retreat is only the calm before the storm, because then Sindel arrives. With Shang Tsung's soul now fueling her, she unleashes a devastation on the Earthrealm warriors, and all hell breaks loose.
Mother.
Come forward if you dare! I will finish what the Lin Kuei could not!
Let's do this.
Attack!
Mother, please.
I am no longer your mother.
Mother, this is not your way. Shao Kahn has corrupted you.
Shao Kahn has resurrected me. You have betrayed him, embraced a pathetic cause.
Remember Edenia, Mother. Remember your rule before Shao Kahn's invasion.
Quiet, child. It is time for you to join your friends.
Monster!
Still alive? No matter. Soon you will reunite with your ancestors.
As Nightwolf battles Sindel, he realizes there's only one way to stop her. He begins chanting, calling on his spiritual energy for one final act of sacrifice. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, a wounded Sonya cries out for Raiden, begging for help. But Raiden isn't there. He and Liu Kang in the ethereal realm, speaking directly to the Elder Gods. To his frustration, Raiden learns that they are already fully aware of the situation. When he pleads for their help, the Elder Gods coldly refuse. They explain that no rules have been broken, invasion isn't prohibited, only merging the realms without victory in Mortal Kombat is. Since the rules have not yet been violated, they will not interfere. Raiden is furious. Liu Kang is disillusioned. They return to Earthrealm only to witness Nightwolf's final moments. With one final act of courage, he self-destructs, turning himself into a spiritual explosion and takes Sindel with him. Raiden and Liu Kang arrive just in time to see the aftermath. Nearby, a dying Katana calls out to Liu Kang and takes her last breath. The grief hits hard. For Liu Kang, this is the final straw. All of Raiden's visions, all of his decisions, they've only led to death and defeat. And then Raiden says something that pushes Liu Kang over the edge. He must travel to the Netherrealm to speak with Quan Chi. Liu Kang refuses to follow this plan. Still grieving, he stays behind to help Sonya and Johnny Cage while Raiden ventures into hell alone. In the Netherrealm, Raiden is greeted not by Quan Chi, but by Scorpion. Defending his master's honor, Scorpion challenges Raiden. The two battle, and Raiden defeats him. Only then does Quan Chi appear. Raiden offers a desperate deal, but Quan Chi quickly sees through it. He knows Earthrealm is vulnerable. When Raiden offers the souls of the fallen Earthrealm warriors, Quan Chi laughs. He already has them. Shao Kahn gave them up as payment for the Netherrealm's allegiance. Quan Chi then orders his new slaves, resurrected warriors, to eliminate Raiden, but Raiden pushes through and defeats them. Frustrated, he argues with Quan Chi, claiming the Elder Gods won't allow this. And in that moment of rage, clarity strikes. Raiden finally understands Shao Kahn can only merge the realms through Mortal Kombat. If he tries to merge them without victory, he will violate the Elder Gods' laws. That's what the message meant when he said he must win. It wasn't Liu Kang, it was Shao Kahn. Raiden returns to Earthrealm and explains everything to Liu Kang, but it's too late. Liu Kang, still grieving and filled with rage, no longer trusts Raiden. He accuses him of betrayal. When Raiden tries to stop him, Liu Kang lashes out, and the two fight.
Back from the Netherrealm empty-handed, I see.
Liu Kang! Liu Kang, I now realize what we must do. We must allow Shao Kahn to merge the realms.
That is insane.
The Elder Gods forbid it without victory in Mortal Kombat. When he does, the Elder God's fury will fall upon him. Defeating Shao Kahn before the merge is but temporary. He will return, bringing Armageddon. I have foreseen it.
Enough, Raiden! He is here.
No! Do as I say! Have faith in the Elder Gods. Have faith in me. Liu Kang, I cannot let you fight Shao Kahn.
Then you are my enemy.
Raiden defeats Liu Kang, but the monk is still blinded by anger. He attacks again, this time recklessly. In the heat of the moment, Raiden responds with a bolt of lightning, frying Liu Kang and accidentally killing him. Just then, Shao Kahn arrives. Sonya and Johnny Cage try to take a final stand but are easily overpowered. Raiden, emotionally broken and spiritually drained, surrenders. Shao Kahn begins gloating, beating Raiden to a pulp, just like the beginning of the story. He declares victory, and Raiden weakly bloody agrees he has won. But in that moment, the Elder Gods intervene. The skies darken. Divine energy surges through Raiden as the Elder Gods speak through him, declaring that Shao Kahn has violated their will by merging the realms without victory in Mortal Kombat. Shao Kahn, now infused with power, tries to resist, but the Elder Gods begin striking him. At first, he is immune, but Raiden, now empowered by the Elder Gods, rises again. The final battle begins. Raiden and Shao Kahn clash one last time, and this time, Raiden wins. With the Elder God's energy, Raiden delivers a final devastating blow that destroys Shao Kahn, erasing him completely from existence. With Shao Kahn gone, Raiden's amulet is restored, and Earthrealm is finally safe. As Sonya and Johnny Cage mourn their losses, including Liu Kang and Katana, Raiden looks ahead, weary but hopeful. But then, the shadows of Outworld, Quan Chi appears holding Shao Kahn's helmet, and behind him emerges the true mastermind behind this entire situation, Shinnok, the fallen Elder God. Together, they've been preparing for the next war, one that will engulf both Outworld and the Netherrealm, bringing the story to a close.
It is over. But only at the gravest of costs. So many are gone. Their light has sunk into the earth. I am responsible for their loss.
You did what you had to protect Earthrealm. Losses in war are inevitable.
Come, let us tend the fallen. Then we must help our realm rebuild. Our work is only just begun.
Your plan worked to perfection, Lord Shinnok.
Shao Kahn was blinded by rage. How easily he was convinced that the Elder Gods would ignore his merging the realms.
Yet the Thunder God still lives.
No matter. Neither Earthrealm nor Outworld can now withstand the Netherrealm's onslaught. It is time. Soon I will be free. Earthrealm and Outworld will be ours.
Round 3.
The story in this game really fleshes out a lot of details we originally picked up from old Mortal Kombat comics. While it's technically a retelling, the game makes key changes that feel right for where the franchise has evolved. Take Sonya's storyline, for example. In the first comic, her entire unit was kidnapped, and Jax was the one who crossed paths with Johnny Cage in the second comic and interrogated him. Here, it's streamlined. Sonya is just trying to rescue Jax. It's a small but smart shift that works in the context of this reboot. And since the franchise has come a long way since 1992, some changes just made sense. Like Liu Kang meeting Kitana during the first tournament. It adds emotional weight early on and shows their connection was always there, even from the start. Now, here's something I know not everyone's gonna love. Mortal Kombat Mythologies is canon. Yeah, when Raiden brings up Sub-Zero's death, he's directly referencing events from that game. It officially ties mythology into this rebooted timeline, but it raises a question. How much of Mythologies is canon? I ask because depending on if you played it or how you played it, Quan Chi either got uppercutted by Serena or took a hard L from Sub-Zero. Yet, when the tournament begins here, Quan Chi is just chilling like nothing happened. So yeah, this reboot picks and chooses what to keep and what to tweak. And honestly, that's the nature of a soft reboot. Especially since so much of the original lore was told through comics, arcade bios, or vague endings. We used to have to fill in the blanks with our imagination. This time we get to see everything unfold clearly in real time. We get the origin of the Cyber Initiative, the creation of Ermac, and even who Cabal was before he became a burnt man. It all builds into what I call a complete masterpiece when it comes to the story. Now, compared to MK vs. DC, this game introduces real consequences. People die. Characters are changed forever. Sub-Zero becomes Cyber Sub-Zero. The Wuxi Academy loses 2 of its best monks. Sindel will never learn the truth about her husband or reclaim Edenia in Mortal Kombat 4 if you look at the comic. The stakes are higher than anything we've ever seen in a Mortal Kombat game. In past entries, we often be left wondering who lived, who died, and we wouldn't get those answers until the next game. But here, the consequences are immediate, permanent, and that brings us to one of the most sombering moments in the entire game.
They would agree.
You are a cavalier with other men's souls.
Not just others! I offer my own soul as well. If I die, you will have it.
How noble, Raiden. Yet utterly pointless.
No!
See? Their souls are already mine. Shao Kahn's payment for Netherrealm's allegiance.
No, this was not meant to be.
Earthrealm has lost Raiden. Now so shall you. Finish him.
As you command, my master.
That scene alone tells you everything. You can't run from fate. In Armageddon, everyone dies. In this game, it's like all the heroes still die. If not for Raiden, Johnny Cage, and Sonya Blade, the stakes are high, but the consequences are even higher. What also stands out is how the story builds on character relationships, whether it's siblings, partners, or what I think is the most underrated dynamic, master and apprentice. I'll touch on all three. First up, sibling rivalry. Let's look at Mileena and Kitana. In the original comic books, they were often shown as working side by side as assassins, but in this version that has been rewritten, Kitana doesn't see Mileena as a sister. She sees her as a monstrosity, a genetic abomination crafted by Shang Tsung. Now, here's where Raiden's visions come into play. Back in the original trilogy, Raiden wasn't guided by future knowledge, but now, with hindsight from Armageddon, the timeline is rewritten, and that changes everything. So, if you follow this logic, it's possible that Mileena's original purpose was to replace Kitana, not work alongside her as we've seen in the past. It's a fascinating shift, one that forces us to reevaluate both characters and their motivations through a totally new lens.
What in the name of... She looks like me. Huh? Sister. So pretty, so fair, so sad and alone. Come, let us be a family. You are not my family. You are a monstrosity.
Another sibling rivalry that was forever changed is a retelling of the one between Bi-Han and Kuai Liang. If you remember in the original timeline, we didn't even find out Noob Saibot was the original Sub-Zero until Deception, which, might I say, made my Tragedy of Sub-Zero video age like fine wine. And now, here we are again, watching yet another tragedy unfold around Sub-Zero. This story gives us a front row seat to Raiden trying to stop it, trying to prevent this path from playing out. But even with all his knowledge and his visions, Raiden fails. And what are we left with is both Sub-Zeros are changed forever. Bi-Han becomes Noob Saibot, a soulless wraith completely stripped of honor he once carried. Kuai Liang becomes Cyber Sub-Zero, his humanity stolen from him through the Lin Kuei's brutal cyber initiative. These two brothers, once a part of the same legacy, now stand on opposite sides of the war, mirroring the dynamic between Kitana and Mileena, but with one key difference. Kuai Liang still wants to honor his brother's memory. Meanwhile, Bi-Han has become a literal shadow of his former self, consumed by darkness. This reinforces my belief that Sub-Zero, no matter which version, is one of the most tragic characters in the entire franchise. They're not just victims of war between realms, they are victims of fate, legacy, and loss.
Who is that?
The one Kano warned about. He is mine. You are not worthy of the name Sub-Zero. Who are you to judge? I wore those colors before you. Bi-Han? Yes, Kuai Liang. It is I. Quan Chi restored me. Restored? You and I both. We are flawed copies of our former selves. I have no flaws. Quan Chi has perfected me. For what end? To serve the Netherrealm and Outworld? It suits my purpose. But brother, we share blood. We are not brothers.
Then I will not regret your defeat.
It's poetic and painful, and one of the many reasons why this game's story still hits so hard even years later. I mean, even look at Cyber Sub-Zero's ending. I'm gonna bring it up here because I'm not gonna talk about it in my character analysis, because his bio is the same exact one as the regular Sub-Zero, but the ending is different. And even here you can see it continues. Sub-Zero is a tragic character. Now, the last relationship I want to talk about is the one that hit me the hardest. Master and apprentice. So bear with me. I'm going to go on for a minute here because this dynamic is the heart of the story. You can look at Mortal Kombat and see it as a combination of the first 3 games, effectively forming a trilogy. But what really hit me is how this trilogy draws parallels to another iconic trilogy. If you watch my videos in the past, I'm pretty sure you know where I'm about to go. The Star Wars prequels. And I know that might sound wild, but stick with me. I'm gonna blow your mind. Remember back when Mortal Kombat 2 was being developed, Tobias and Boone originally didn't even want to make a sequel. They wanted to make a Star Wars game. And honestly, you can draw a parallel between these 2 franchises all day. You can draw the parallels of having a master and having an apprentice. You look at Shao Kahn, you look at Shang Tsung, you look at Goro, you look at Shao Kahn, you look at Quan Chi, you look at Shinnok. Over the years of Mortal Kombat, there has always been a master and apprentice relationship. One person that does the bidding and the one person in charge. It's the same thing of an emperor and his apprentice. Take in mind, Emperor Shao Kahn was orchestrated because of Emperor Palpatine. That's just a small tangent that I went on. Now let's get back to this game. Let's talk about Raiden and Liu Kang and compare that to Obi-Wan and Anakin. Now isolate Liu Kang's character. He's the chosen one. Raiden has visions, a prophecy about someone who must win, and naturally he believes that person is Liu Kang. Sound familiar? In The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon believes Anakin is the chosen one who will bring balance to the Force. In that first film, Anakin meets Padme, his future love. In this game, Liu Kang meets Kitana during the first tournament. The connection is immediate and carries emotional weight throughout the story. Then, in Attack of the Clones, Anakin becomes increasingly protective of Padme, so much that he starts making decisions based on emotions instead of logic. He's willing to abandon the Jedi Order if it means saving her. Now, look at Mortal Kombat. When Kitana is about to be executed, Liu Kang doesn't hesitate. He doesn't listen to Raiden. He just charges in to save her, even though the realm is falling apart around him.
There's Kitana. I must free her.
Not now. Smoke and Johnny Cage have been defeated, and I no longer sense Jackson Briggs or Sonya Blade's presence in Outworld. Despite my doubts as to whether you are Earthrealm's savior, you must fight.
But I am not he who must win.
If you want to go a step further, and this might be a little funny, in Attack of the Clones, Anakin loses his right arm. In this game, Liu Kang loses his right-hand man, Kung Lao. Might be a stretch, but the symmetry's there. But something else to notice about, and I thought about this recently. If we look exactly what happens in Attack of the Clones, Anakin loses his mother, and what happens? He goes in on pure rage and anger and takes out the Tusken Raiders. Right? What happens when Kung Lao dies right in front of him? He loses all sanity and charges in instantly to fight Shao Kahn based on pure emotion. The same thing that happens on both sides, they both win, but still feel defeated in their victory. They are grieving in both similar ways. Now, in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin starts falling apart when he believes Padme is going to die in childbirth. This fear causes him to lose faith in the Jedi and everything he stood for. Apart from him also wanting to be a master, but that's another story. I'm not getting into that. Now watch Mortal Kombat. After the deaths of Kung Lao, Kitana, and nearly everyone he cares about, Liu Kang enters his own Revenge of the Sith moment. He loses faith in Raiden. He stops trusting the Elder Gods. He questions everything.
Kitana. They are dead.
Liu Kang,
We abandoned them, and they're dead.
My heart too is heavy with their sacrifice.
Their deaths achieved nothing! What is next, Raiden? Tell me the future! How do we honor their sacrifice?
I climbed to heaven. Now I must plunge into the depths. I will go to Quan Chi, ally our realm with his against the forces of Outworld.
What? Grovel before Quan Chi? What will he demand? What price will be paid?
Would any price be too high to save Earthrealm?
I had prayed it not true. But you have gone mad, Raiden. Your visions, they are nothing. Delusions of an addled mind.
Liu Kang, please.
Enough. I must help the wounded. Leave on your hopeless quest.
May the Elder Gods protect you.
Now, you can see both these characters have a lot in common, but there's one thing Liu Kang said to Raiden that really changed how I looked at the story. Right before they fight, what does Liu Kang say last before they begin?
Then you are my enemy.
Now look at Revenge of the Sith. What is one of the last words Anakin says to Obi-Wan before the fight on Mustafar?
You're not with me. Then you're my enemy.
It's a direct mirror. And just like Anakin, Liu Kang's story ends in tragedy. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is set on fire and left for dead, only to be reborn as Darth Vader, confined to a life support unit. In Mortal Kombat, Liu Kang is electrocuted by Raiden and burned to a crisp, dying in the arms of Raiden. Both characters in the end were literally and metaphorically burned by their masters. And if you know where the Mortal Kombat timeline goes from here, let's just say Liu Kang's transformation is far from over. It just goes to show Mortal Kombat isn't just about blood and fatalities. It's about fate, failure, and emotional betrayal. And when you look close enough, you see that under the surface, sometimes Mortal Kombat is Star Wars. Now that I touched upon of my idea of Mortal Kombat having a connection to Star Wars, let's get into my favorite part of the TakeOver series, the character analysis. Not much new characters were added. Maybe Cyber Sub-Zero is one we can say, but overall, the characters in this game were the same we had before. So in this game, we have Scorpion, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Sub-Zero, Sindel, Ermac, Reptile, Kitana, Johnny Cage, Mileena, Nightwolf, Cyrax, Noob Saibot, Smoke, Sector, Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano, Stryker, Shang Tsung, Baraka, Cabal, Raiden, Cyber Sub-Zero, Shiva, Quan Chi, Shao Kahn, Kintaro, and Goro. Later on in my analysis, I'm also going to touch upon the complete edition characters that were also added. But for now, I'm going to talk specifically on the Mortal Kombat characters added in the first rendition of the game. Now, Scorpion. Few characters in Mortal Kombat are seen as iconic or tragic as Hanzo Hasashi. Once a proud warrior of the Shirai Ryu, Scorpion's life was defined by loyalty, discipline, and battle prowess, earning him his fiery codename due to his lightning-quick strikes. But everything changed when the Lin Kuei, led by the Elder Sub-Zero, wiped out his entire clan and family. That massacre didn't just kill Hanzo Hasashi, it birthed Scorpion. His resurrection by Quan Chi was no miracle, it was manipulation, fusing Hanzo's soul with hellfire and vengeance, turning him into a specter bent on retribution. As a reverent, Scorpion wasn't fighting for justice, he was driven by the need for revenge. He entered the tournament not for glory or honor, but for blood. This vendetta made him one of the most dangerous fighters in the tournament, but his story has always been more layered than just revenge. It's about grief, deception, and a struggle to hold on to humanity when you've lost everything. Quan Chi took advantage of Scorpion's trauma, using him as a pawn in a much larger game. And for a long time, Scorpion believed the lie that Sub-Zero was solely responsible for his family's murder. And his ending, we see even with Shao Kahn's death, Scorpion's torment didn't fade. His journey took him back into the ruins of the Shirai Ryu Temple, a symbolic return to his origins. There, the spirits of his fallen clan finally revealed the truth. It was not Sub-Zero, but Quan Chi who orchestrated the massacre. This revelation reignited his rage, but this time with clarity. Fueled by righteous fury rather than blind vengeance, Scorpion returned to the Netherrealm and exacted final justice. With his kin guiding his hand, he destroyed Quan Chi, freeing himself from decades of manipulation. It's a powerful revolution for a character who has been twisted by lies, finally giving Hanzo Hasashi the closure he's long been denied.
Shao Kahn's death did nothing to relieve Scorpion's pain. The loss of his kin still weighed heavily upon him. For reasons he could neither explain nor understand, he was drawn to the home of the Shirai Ryu. Standing amid the rubble in solemn contemplation, Scorpion was visited by apparitions of his fallen comrades, who revealed the true mastermind behind their brutal deaths. Enraged, he returned to the Netherrealm. As the spirits of his kin immobilized Quan Chi, Scorpion slew him, finally avenging their deaths.
Now, Liu Kang, he's always been the heart and soul of Earthrealm's defense, its champion, its moral compass, and its most devoted warrior. Orphaned as a child and raised by the Shaolin monks, Liu Kang's life was shaped by spiritual discipline and martial excellence. From early on, his destiny was clear. The monks recognized his potential, and Raiden, ever watchful, introduced him to Master Bo' Rai Cho to push that potential even further. By the time the Mortal Kombat tournament came around, Liu Kang wasn't just a competitor, he was Earthrealm's best hope. What makes Liu Kang's arc so compelling is the pressure he faces, not just as a fighter, but as a symbol. He is tasked with saving the realm, carrying the weight of generations on his shoulder, all while trying to stay grounded in his beliefs. And as we saw in this game, that pressure begins to fracture the relationship between the student and the teacher. As Raiden becomes consumed by cryptic visions and decisions that cost lives, Liu Kang begins to question the very mentor who once guided him. The idealistic monk turns into a hardened warrior and eventually a man disillusioned by those he once trusted the most. Come on now, you cannot tell me this man does not sound like Anakin Skywalker. In his ending, that disillusionment becomes a declaration. After defeating Shao Kahn, Liu Kang sees Raiden not as a guide, but as a liability, someone who mistakes nearly doomed Earthrealm. Fueled by a belief that he alone can ensure the realm's safety, he challenges Raiden in a one-on-one Mortal Kombat bout. It's a bold move, not out of arrogance, but conviction. And when Liu Kang wins, he demands and is granted Raiden's title and becomes a god, the new protector of Earthrealm. It is a bitter-sweet evolution, turning a once humble monk into a divine guardian. But the real question this ending leaves us with is, how much of Liu Kang's soul did he have to sacrifice to protect the ones he loved the most?
Having defeated Shao Kahn, Liu Kang believed he was the only one capable of defending Earthrealm against outside threats. During the invasion, Raiden had been more burden than ally. Brazenly, he demanded the Elder Gods grant him the Thunder God status. In a one-match Mortal Kombat tournament, Liu Kang defeated his former friend and mentor. Liu Kang's request was granted. He was made a god, the new protector of Earthrealm.
Now, Kung Lao, often seen as Liu Kang's counterpart, Kung Lao carries a different kind of weight, legacy. While Liu Kang fights for Earthrealm's safety, Kung Lao fights to reclaim his family's honor. His ancestor, the Great Kung Lao, was the first Earthrealm warrior to wear Mortal Kombat, only to later fall to Goro and lose everything. That loss didn't just affect his lineage, it haunted it. So for Kung Lao, every match, every strike, every drop of sweat isn't just about survival. It's personal. It's redemption. And when he entered the tournament, disguised as a guard, no less, it's because nothing will stop him from proving that his bloodline still has what it takes. What sets Kung Lao apart is that he often feels like he's in Liu Kang's shadow, even though their convictions are just as strong. He's skilled, spiritual, and deeply driven, but also prone to impulsiveness. He wants to carve his name into history, not just as a warrior, but as the man who fixed a broken legacy. His confidence at times, bordering on arrogance, makes him a more flawed but deeply human character. In his ending, Kung Lao finally gets what he always dreamed of: closure. After defeating Shao Kahn and avenging his ancestor legacy, Kung Lao stands in the grave of the great Kung Lao, joined by Raiden. When he touches the gravestone, something profound happens. Visions flash before him, moments from a life that isn't entirely his. Or maybe it is. Raiden concludes that Kung Lao is a reincarnation of his own ancestor, reliving and rewriting history in real time. In this revelation, Kung Lao's journey comes full circle. He didn't just redeem his ancestor, he was his ancestor, and he finally achieved the victory that was denied from him 500 years ago. A story about redemption becomes one about reincarnation and the idea that some warriors are simply destined to finish what they started.
Kung Lao had avenged his ancestor's death and saved Earthrealm from Shao Kahn's brutality. In quiet reflection with Raiden at the grave of the great Kung Lao, he touched the modest stone marker. Images of past events, moments of someone else's life flashed through his mind, concluding with a lost battle against Goro. Raiden theorized that Kung Lao had unlocked memories of his past life. The Kung Lao that stood before Raiden was in fact the reincarnation of the great Kung Lao, who had been defeated by Goro 500 years ago. He had accomplished in the present what he could not in the past.
Now, Kuai Liang, originally known as Tundra, he stepped into the Sub-Zero title after the death of his older brother, Bi-Han, and with that came the weight of legacy, grief, and duty. Unlike his colder, more ruthless sibling, Kuai Liang has a more disciplined moral compass. Yes, he's an assassin raised by the Lin Kuei, but he still has a sense of honor, something rare in a clan built on secrecy and betrayal. His quest isn't just about vengeance, it's about truth and accountability. And with the mastery surrounding Bi-Han's death, Sub-Zero becomes more of a detective warrior than just another kill for hire. What really sets Kuai Liang apart in Mortal Kombat 9 is the emotional depth behind his choices. He doesn't just inherit the mask and move on. He's constantly wrestling with what being Sub-Zero means. Whether it's breaking from the Lin Kuei Saber Initiative or teaming up with Smoke, he proves he's willing to go against his own to protect what is right. His conflict is personal, and it's what makes him relatable. He doesn't fight out of bloodlust. He fights out of loyalty and a deep-seated need to do what's right by his family. And his ending, Sub-Zero's journey, takes an unexpected poetic turn. After defeating Shao Kahn, Raiden reveals that the Lin Kuei were behind the tragedy that struck both the Hasashi and Liang families. Enraged by this revelation, Sub-Zero extends a hand to Scorpion, not in rivalry, but in solidarity. Together, fire and ice form an unstoppable alliance, a literal storm of vengeance. This new deadly alliance isn't about world domination or personal gain. It's about justice. And when their mission is complete, they vanish into myth, resurfacing only to protect the innocent. In this ending, Kuai Liang doesn't just honor his brother, he redefines the meaning of Sub-Zero altogether.
After the victory over Shao Kahn, Sub-Zero learned from Raiden the truth, that the Lin Kuei were ultimately responsible for the deaths of both Sub-Zero's and Scorpion's families. Enraged, Sub-Zero offered Scorpion a chance to share in his quest for vengeance. With the might of fire and ice combined, they were a storm of vengeful fury as they cut down their foes. Once justice had been done, Sub-Zero and Scorpion disappeared into legend, emerging from obscurity only to avenge the innocent. The forces of darkness will never stop this deadly alliance.
Now, Sindel, one of Mortal Kombat's most complex and shape-shifting figures, Sindel is a character defined by both tragedy and power. Originally the queen of Edenia and the mother of Kitana, her story starts as one of loss. Her realm stolen, her daughter taken, and her own life ended by her own hand in a desperate attempt to stop Shao Kahn's conquest of Earthrealm. But death didn't bring peace. Instead, she was resurrected, her mind twisted by dark sorcery, turned into a tool of the very man she tried to escape. Her return as Shao Kahn's enforcer is haunting, not just for Earthrealm's warriors, but for her daughter Kitana, who has to face her mother as a weapon of evil. What makes Sindel so powerful isn't just her banshee wail or her deadly elegance. It's how much the story reflects Mortal Kombat's central themes: loss, manipulation, and rebirth. Her allegiance isn't truly her own, and the pain of her transformation into an antagonist adds a layer of emotional tension that elevates her from mere villain to tragic icon. Whether she's devastating Earthrealm's heroes or confronting the horrors of her own resurrection, Sindel represents the dangerous consequences of tampering with life and death. In her ending, Sindel breaks free from the spell that corrupted her family and becomes the queen she was always meant to be. Facing Shao Kahn head-on, she defeats and eliminates him, not just for Edenia, but for the untold pain he caused across the realms. With his death, she unbinds Edenia from Outworld, restoring her homeland to its rightful state. But her actions speak louder than her victories. She doesn't rule through fear, but with wisdom and resilience. The citizens of Outworld, once Khan's subjects, chose to follow her, impressed by her strength and clarity in times of chaos. In her ending, Sindel doesn't just reclaim the throne, she transforms it, merging Edenia and Outworld not by conquest, but through unity. Her redemption arc feels earned, turning a once enslaved queen into a symbol of hope and balance across the realms.
The spell that bewitched Queen Sindel had been broken. She did battle with Shao Kahn and slew him, punishment for the suffering he brought upon her and millions of others throughout the realms. She dissolved the sorcery that bound Edenia with Outworld and began restoring her realm to its former glory. The many races of Outworld were impressed. Not only had Sindel defeated Shao Kahn, but she had shown great leadership in chaotic times. They willingly offered her their allegiance. Under Sindel's governance, The realms of Edenia and Outworld remain merged in spirit.
Now, Ermac, one of the most fascinating and eerie characters in the Mortal Kombat mythos. Ermac isn't just one soul, he's many. Born from the twisted magic of Shao Kahn, Ermac is a collective spirit of Edenia's fallen warriors, forcibly fused into one body as punishment for defying the Emperor. It's a concept that gives both depth and menace. He's not a man with a mission. He's a living weapon made of suffering, bound to a tyrant's will. His telekinetic abilities and spectral form make him feel otherworldly, a presence that's more force than flesh. What's always made Ermac stand out is that, despite being created as a servant of evil, his origin is one of injustice. He's a prisoner of war in the most literal sense, molded into a tool for the same regime that slaughtered his people. That duality, being powerful yet bound, makes his art compelling, especially once he starts showing signs of sentience and internal conflict. The moment he begins to question Shao Kahn's control is the moment his true potential begins to surface. In his ending, Ermac is freed from Shao Kahn's death, but his liberation comes at a cost. With the Emperor gone, the souls inside him erupt in chaos, each fighting for control. Yet among the storm of spirits, one voice rises above the rest. King Jerrod, the former ruler of Edenia and father to Kitana. With Jerrod's spirit taking dominance, Ermac's story becomes one of unexpected reunion. No longer a pawn of tyranny, he joins his homeland and reveals the truth to Queen Sindel and Kitana. Though he is no longer Jerrod in full, he pledges himself to learn their protection. It's a poetic turn. The weapon forged from Edenia's ruin becomes its guardian. In his ending, Ermac transitions from a cursed enforcer into a symbol of redemption and embodiment of Edenia's lost paths, finding purpose in its future.
With Shao Kahn dead, Ermac was no longer bound to him. Anarchy erupted within Ermac as the many warrior souls that comprised his being struggled for dominance. Only one had the strength of will to quiet the chaos. The conflict resolved, Ermac returned to Outworld, determined to reunite with his past. Queen Sindel and Princess Kitana were shocked to learn the truth, that trapped among the many spirits within Ermac was their husband and father, King Jerrod. Though he would never be the Jerrod they once knew, Ermac would forever serve and protect his queen and the Edenian people.
Now, Reptile, one of the most tragic and primal characters in Mortal Kombat's roster, Reptile is not just a warrior, he's a relic, the last known survivor of the extinct Saurian race from the realm of Zetira. Reptile's existence is driven by loss, grief, and a desperate longing for belonging. He's a character stuck between worlds, used and discarded by emperors like Shao Kahn, who weaponized his loyalty and stealth without ever respecting his pain. Reptile's tragedy isn't just what he's alone. It's that his identity has been reduced to a tool of oppression when all he wants is a home and a purpose. What makes Reptile fascinating is the way his desperation manifests. Unlike someone like Sub-Zero who channels loss into discipline, Reptile's sorrow turns feral. He lashes out, kills indiscriminately, and inflicts pain not just because he's ordered to, but because it masks his own. That inner turmoil makes him more than just the Green Ninja. He's not inherently evil. He's broken. And it shows. Beneath the fangs and acid is a soul that never healed from the extension of his people. In his ending, Reptile gets exactly what he's always wanted, the resurrection of his race. After Shao Kahn's defeat, he forces Shang Tsung to use the flesh pits to regenerate the raptor species. For a brief moment, Reptile knows joy. He hears the snarls of his kin, sees the growth of his new army, and claims power over a realm that once enslaved him. But in his rise, he becomes a tyrant he once served. The massacre of the Tarkatan, Shogun, and Centaurs signals not just revenge, but a loss of empathy. In his ending, Reptile regains his people, but loses his soul in the process. The loneliness is gone, but so is the part of him that remembered mercy.
Having defeated Shao Kahn, Reptile was feared by all. He forced Shang Tsung to regenerate his Raptor race. The process took agonizing months, but soon Reptile heard the snarls of young broodlings throughout the flesh pits. Eventually, Shang Tsung had created an army of Raptor warriors bred to serve Reptile. They stormed the realm, killing any Tarkatan, Shokan, or Centaur who opposed Reptile's rule. The intoxicating feeling of reuniting with his people blinded Reptile to the suffering of his former comrades. Reptile was home once more.
Now, Kitana. For a character that was introduced as a deadly assassin, Kitana has one of the most emotionally complex arcs in the Mortal Kombat universe. Over 10,000 years old and raised under the Iron Ruler Shao Kahn, her life was built on lies. She believed herself to be his loyal daughter, only to discover that she was the stolen heir of Edenia, used as a pawn in Khan's conquest. That betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Kitana's story is one of identity, awakening, and rebellion. She's not just a fighter in the tournament. She's someone rediscovering her past and rewriting her future. What makes Kitana so compelling is that her strength isn't just physical, it's emotional. She doesn't want to go off the rails when she learns the truth. Instead, she rises, makes calculated choices, and ultimately stands against the man who raised her. She questions authority, but she doesn't lose herself in vengeance. That balance between warrior and diplomat, between rage and grace, makes her one of Mortal Kombat's most dignified figures. And her bond with Jade adds even more depth, showing that loyalty and sisterhood, both real and adopted, play a huge role in shaping her journey. In her ending, Kitana takes justice into her own hands. She ends Shao Kahn's reign once and for all, not just for herself, but for the realms. What's surprising is her decision to show mercy to Mileena. Instead of continuing the cycle of violence, she offers her twisted half-sister a place in Edenian society. That one act says everything about Kitana, who has become someone who breaks from the legacy of war and instead chooses unity. With Jade and Mileena by her side, she forms a new force to defend the realms, rooted not in conquest, but in justice. In her ending, Kitana steps fully into her role, not just as a princess, but as a queen in spirit.
Kitana had ended Shao Kahn's life for his betrayal. She had discovered the truth about Mileena, but rather than slay her as well, she took pity on her half-sister. She offered Mileena a home within the Edenian aristocracy. She was, after all, of royal blood. Mileena cautiously accepted her sister's invitation. With Mileena and Jade at her side, Kitana formed a fighting force dedicated to bringing justice to the realms. Never again would a warlord arise to create such terror.
Now, Johnny Cage. On the surface, he's a Hollywood poster boy, cocky, charismatic, and always ready with the one-liner. Underneath the designer shades and movie posters lies one of the most surprising character evolutions in the Mortal Kombat saga. Known for classics like Dragon Fists and Time Smashers, Johnny's presence in the tournament initially felt like comic relief, until it didn't. Over time, that same guy who everyone thought was just an ego with legs proved he had heart and hidden power. And not just figuratively, he literally comes from a bloodline of warriors bred by gods. What separates Johnny from other characters is his growth. He starts as a skeptic, someone who joined the tournament to prove he's more than just a stuntman or actor. By the end of it, he's throwing hands with sorcerers, gods, and emperors without blinking. His legacy goes beyond his fame. He's a chosen warrior by ancestry, And while his charm and arrogance never fully faded, he evolves into someone you can genuinely count on, especially when things hit the fan and comic relief turns into cosmic responsibility. In his ending, Johnny Cage finds himself at a crossroads between stardom and something far more dangerous: uncontrollable power. After Shao Kahn's fall, he begins releasing bursts of energy without warning, destroying everything around him. Seeking answers, he turns to Raiden and Nightwolf, but even they can't help. So Raiden takes him to Sado, the realm of order, where Johnny can learn to control his godlike energy, carousing through him. In his ending, Johnny Cage isn't just a celebrity anymore. He's becoming something far greater, a warrior capable of rewriting his legacy, not on the big screen, but on the battlefield.
As the last remnants of Shao Kahn disintegrated, Johnny felt strange, as if he had lost control of his body. Suddenly, powerful energy burst forth, destroying everything around him. Johnny sought the aid of Raiden and Nightwolf, but their efforts did nothing to stop these random spasms of destruction. Desperate, Raiden transported Johnny to Sado, the realm of order, where he could be taught to control his power. Johnny Cage will transform into a warrior powerful beyond mortal imagining.
Now Jade. Often underestimated due to her quiet loyalty and grace, Jade is far more than a background player in Mortal Kombat's outworld politics. She's a silent storm. Born of Edenia nobility, Jade was handed over to Shao Kahn as tribute, trained in the deadly arts from childhood, and transformed into one of his most efficient assassins. But unlike others who bent to the Emperor's will without question, Jade always held on to something more: integrity. Serving as Kitana's bodyguard and close friend, her dual loyalty is what truly defines her. Her conflict isn't just physical, it's emotional. Imagine being told your duty is to protect someone while also secretly ordered to kill them if they ever stepped out of line. That's Jade's reality. Over time, her bond with Kitana becomes a symbol of rebellion, not weakness. She walks the line between duty and friendship, and what makes Jade compelling is that she doesn't crumble under pressure. She endures it. She's not just a staff-wielding warrior in green. She's the heart of Edenia's resistance, even when she doesn't say a word. In her ending, Jade finds herself unconscious after Shao Kahn's defeat, drifting into a dreamlike realm filled with shifting realities and uncertainty. There, she meets a mysterious woman who claims to have observed countless mortals' minds and declares Shao Kahn's demise is an outcome that must be rewritten. Before Jade can react, this unknown entity possesses her body and returns to the waking world. In her ending, Jade's story is a chilling turn, not towards redemption or revenge, but into the unknown, as she becomes a vessel for something far more ancient and possibly more dangerous than Shao Kahn himself.
Shao Kahn was defeated, but the intense battle rendered Jade unconscious. She slipped into a dreamlike state and found herself walking in an unknown realm. As she explored, her surroundings shifted and changed. Jade approached a lone figure who stood in the distance, a shimmering woman. She did not reveal her name, but spoke with an air of regal authority. Through the minds of countless mortals, the woman had been watching events as they unfolded over the centuries. She informed Jade that Shao Kahn's death was an outcome that must be reimagined. Jade was defenseless as the woman possessed her body and emerged in the waking world.
Now, Mileena, equal parts elegance and monstrosity. Mileena is the personification of duality. Birthed in Shang Tsung's grotesque flesh pit, she was never meant to be whole, only a tool. Crafted from Edenian grace and Tarkatan ferocity, Mileena is both royal imitation and genetic abomination. What really makes her dangerous isn't just the fangs or feral rage, it's her fractured identity. She looks like Kitana, but behaves like a caged animal. Raised under Shao Kahn's thumb, she was never neutered, only used, weaponized, and programmed to kill in the name of loyalty she never truly understood. Yet, it's that instability that makes Mileena so compelling. She's not just a monster, she's a child in a woman's body, starved for love but fed violence. She lashes out not from bloodlust, but from confusion. Her story is one of identity stolen before it could even form. And deep down, you get the sense that she's trying to find out who she really is. Beyond the mask, beyond the throne, beyond being Kitana's shadow. In her ending, Mileena murders Shao Kahn in a burst of raw madness. But unbeknownst to her, it was a part of Shang Tsung's master plan. He had secretly laced her with the power to drain Shao Kahn's magic, leaving him vulnerable. But Shang Tsung miscalculated. Mileena, now brimming with dark power and guided by only instinct, turned that fury on the sorcerer himself. In her ending, she slaughters Shang Tsung, absorbs his soul, growing even stronger and far more dangerous. With Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung both dead, Mileena doesn't stop. She sets her sights on even more divine conquests, the soul of the Thunder God.
Mileena killed the Emperor in a fit of deranged fury, but she was unaware that her victory resulted from Shang Tsung's designs. He had imbued Mileena with the ability to drain Shao Kahn's dark magic, rendering him vulnerable. Now Shang Tsung was ready to execute the next phase of his plan, murder Mileena and take Shao Kahn's power for himself. But Mileena instinctively wielded her new dark power against the sorcerer. Shang Tsung's end came quickly. Mileena absorbed his soul, multiplying her strength. She then set out to claim an even bigger prize, the soul of a Thunder God.
Now, Nightwolf, one of the most spiritually grounded warriors in the Mortal Kombat universe, Nightwolf isn't just a fighter, he's a vessel. As a Native American shaman with a rare connection to divine forces, his strength comes not from brute force or supernatural sorcery, but from belief. That's what separates him from so many others in Earthrealm's lineup. He doesn't fight for glory or vengeance. He fights to protect the balance of the realms, even if it costs him everything. Nightwolf has always been portrayed as calm, composed, and centered. His spirit guide, the wolf, isn't just a gimmick. It's an extension of his soul, a reminder that he's both warrior and protector. And through his communion with the spirits, particularly with the Thunder God himself, Nightwolf acts as a moral compass in a world of chaos. What's truly admirable about his character is that while he's not flashy or arrogant, he's often the one to make the toughest decisions, quietly saving the day while others fall to ego or emotion. In his ending, Nightwolf unleashes every ounce of his power to destroy Shao Kahn, but that in victory comes a spiritual cost. His trusted wolf god vanishes in the aftermath, leaving him untethered. Hoping to restore the bond, Nightwolf performs a sacred ritual, but instead of peace, he's met with corruption. Shao Kahn, ever the deceiver, had anchored his soul to the wolf spirit, twisting into a vessel for his resurrection. Now bound to a cursed animality, Nightwolf becomes a werewolf-like being whose bite spreads Shao Kahn's influence. In his ending, the quiet guardian of Earthrealm becomes the unwitting harbinger of a new invasion, one victim at a time.
It took all of Nightwolf's power to destroy Shao Kahn. His spirit guide, the wolf, had aided him in the battle, but in the aftermath, its presence was no longer felt. Nightwolf returned to his home, seeking the Elder's help in reconnecting to the spirit world. During their ritual, his wolf returned to him, changed. Shao Kahn had tethered his soul to the wolf spirit in order to cheat death. Now corrupted with Shao Kahn's evil, Nightwolf has transformed into his animality, his bite converting his victims into subservient lycanthropes. Through Nightwolf, Shao Kahn will conquer Earthrealm, one mortal at a time.
Now, Cyrax, Out of all the Lin Kuei assassins, Cyrax is the one who best represents the eternal struggle between man and machine. A warrior with a deep respect for traditional and chi-based combat, Cyrax is more than just a product of his clan. He's someone who actually requests its direction. While others like Sector embrace the cold efficiency of the Cyber Initiative, Cyrax feared it would erase what made him human. That fear didn't come from weakness, it came from wisdom. Cyrax's character arc has always resolved around identity. He's loyal, deadly, and committed to the mission, but when the mission starts to betray the very principles he believes in, he steps back and asks the big questions. Is this honorable? Is this still me? That moral compass is what sets Cyrax apart. He doesn't just break free from his program, he fights to keep it from happening in the first place. That alone makes him one of the most human characters in a clan that's rapidly trying to remove humanity from its equation. In his ending, Cyrax turns his back on the Lin Kuei, not because he's weak, but because he knows real strength lies in doing what's right. Helping Earthrealm's warrior during Shao Kahn's invasion puts a target on his back, and sure enough, Sector and the rest of the clan come to terminate him. Outnumbered and nearly overwhelmed, Cyrax prepares to die with honor until Raiden shows up with 100 Shaolin monks to tip the scales. In his ending, Cyrax survives the encounter and is granted sanctuary at the Wuxi Academy. There, the former assassin becomes a true warrior of peace, proving that redemption isn't just possible, it's powerful.
Though he had pledged his life to the Lin Kuei, Cyrax left the clan to help the Earthrealm heroes turn back Shao Kahn's invasion. For this act of desertion, he was marked for termination by the new Grand Master, Sector. Surrounded and severely outnumbered, Cyrax prepared to meet his fate when Raiden came to his aid. With him were 100 Shaolin monks. The Lin Kuei were defeated, though Sector was not counted among the dead. Cyrax was offered sanctuary at the Wuxi Academy, where he has begun a new life as an honorable warrior for peace.
Now, Noob Saibot, easily one of the darkest characters in the entire Mortal Kombat roster, literally and narratively. His origins are cloaked in shadows, both metaphorically and canonically, but fans of the series know the truth. Noob Saibot is the reverend of Bi-Han, the original Sub-Zero. Once a proud Lin Kuei assassin, Bi-Han's death at the hands of Scorpion in the first tournament was only the beginning of his descent. Resurrected by Quan Chi as a twisted shell of his former self, Noob Saibot is no longer a man. He is a shadow given form, driven by bitterness, resentment, and ambition. What makes Noob so dangerous is that he isn't just some mindless servant. He plays the long game. While others serve, Noob plots. He uses his affiliation with the Brotherhood of Shadow as a means to an end. He's not loyal to Quan Chi or Shao Kahn. He's loyal to himself and his own vision of power. This is a character who once fought for Earthrealm and has now become one of his greatest threats, showing just how thin the line is between hero and villain when fate and vengeance get involved. In his ending, Noob Saibot does what he does best, betray and conquer. Free from Quan Chi's control and empowered to destroy Shao Kahn, Noob secretly allies with Havoc. If you remember from the PS2 era, he's a cleric from the realm of chaos. Together, they open a portal that floods another realm with chaos energy, catching Quan Chi, Shinnok, and the Brothers of the Shadow off guard. The invasion leaves the realm weakened and ripe for the taking, while Havoc retreats back to chaos satisfied. Noob stays behind to claim his throne. In his ending, the shadow that once was Sub-Zero finally steps into the role of ruler, not of a clan, but of an entire underworld, a chilling fate for a fallen warrior turned king of darkness.
Quan Chi should never have resurrected Noob Saibot, nor should he have enhanced his power to defeat Shao Kahn. The Revenant he created had broken free of his control. Noob had secretly formed an understanding with a cleric from the realm of chaos. and opened for him a portal to the Netherrealm. Shinnok, Quan Chi, and the Brotherhood of Shadow were unprepared as the forces of chaos overwhelmed them, leaving the underworld severely weakened. Satisfied with his work, the cleric, Havoc, returned to the realm of chaos. Noob Saibot remained to seize control of the Netherrealm.
Now, Smoke. He has always been a fan favorite for a reason. He's a quiet storm of Mortal Kombat, originating from Prague and recruited to the Lin Kuei for his uncanny ability to evade capture. Smoke is more than just a skilled assassin. He's a mystery wrapped in vapor, able to dissolve into a wisp of smoke. His powers make him one of the most elusive and visually striking figures on the roster. But it's his lack of memory and loyalty to Sub-Zero that add a layer of tragic depth to his character. Smoke is defined by questions about his past, his purpose, and his identity. For a long time, he considered Lin Kuei his only family, and his bond with Kuai Liang grounded him. But unlike others in the clan, Smoke didn't want to lose his humanity or become a machine. That decision alone put him on a different path, one shaped by emotion, not programming. He's the embodiment of someone searching for himself in a world where loyalty is often mistaken for submission. In his ending, the death of Shao Kahn unlocks something deep within him. That seismic event shakes the loose memories he's been trying to access his entire life. Smoke recalls his childhood, the horrifying moment he was kidnapped by a cult and sacrificed to a demon. Burned alive, he was reborn as Nanera, a vengeful spirit made of smoke and rage. He annihilated his captors, only to return to the mortal realm with no memory of what he truly was. And his ending, Smoke doesn't just try to find answers. He finds purpose, no longer just a tool to Lin Kuei. He knows he's something more, a living force of vengeance, a supernatural being with a destiny far beyond espionage.
Shao Kahn's violent death shook the very core of Smoke's being and dislodged his earliest memories. Tomas Rabada was only a boy when he was abducted by an obscure cult and sacrificed to a demon. Burned alive, he returned to the mortal realm as an Enenra, a creature of smoke and vapor. His captors were helpless against his shapeless form as he lashed out with rage, killing them all. His murder avenged, he returned to his human form, remembering nothing of his former life. Now aware of his true identity, Smoke understands he is no mere assassin. His destiny has been revealed.
Now, Sector. If Sub-Zero and Smoke represent the heart and soul of the Lin Kuei, then Sector is its cold, ruthless ambition. As the son of the Grand Master, Sector was born into power, but he wasn't okay with just being part of the clan. He wanted to own it. Unlike Cyrax, who struggled with the ethical implications of cybernetic transformation, Sector embraced the mechanization of the Lin Kuei with zero hesitation. In fact, he practically spearheaded it. While others saw a loss of humanity, Sector saw efficiency and an opportunity to crave out his legacy in circuits and steel. Sector's defining trait is loyalty, but only to the mission and the Lin Kuei name, not to his people. He doesn't flinch at betrayal if it brings him closer to power, and his calculated demeanor makes him a terrifying antagonist. His role in Mortal Kombat 9 is that of a shadow player, lurking in the background, pulling wires, and treating even his own clanmates as expendable assets. He's not just a product of the Lin Kuei. He's the inevitable result of their ideology pushed to its darkest extreme. In his ending, Sector finally fulfills the ambition that's been brewing for years. After proving himself through victory after victory, he doesn't just ask for the throne, he takes it. Smashing his way through his own cybernetic brethren, he confronts the Grand Master in one last brutal showdown. With no regard for familiar ties, Sector slays his father and seizes the dragon medallion, absorbing not just the power, but the soul of the man who raised him. The Lin Kuei now belong to Sector, a clan no longer governed by honor or legacy, but by cold precision and unrelenting dominance.
Sector had dedicated his life to the Lin Kuei. His victories had brought honor to his father, the Grand Master. He had proven himself worthy. It was time to replace his father. In a bold attack, Sector smashed through a company of Lin Kuei guards as he pushed toward the Grand Master's chamber. There he found his father waiting. The Grand Master warned him that wearing the dragon medallion brought much power, but at a cost. Sector ignored the warning and slew his father, whose soul burst from his body and flew into the medallion. Sector had finally seized control of the Lin Kuei.
Now, Sonya Blade, she's always been one of Mortal Kombat's most grounded and relentless fighters, less about mysticism and more about grit, military discipline, and sheer force of will. Her journey begins not with prophecy or fate, but with a deeply personal loss. Her father, a U.S. Marine who vanished during a covert mission. That disappearance shaped her whole identity. It wasn't just about following in his footsteps. It was about finishing the mission he never could, even if that meant walking straight into the fire. Sonya's loyalty is unshakable, but her intensity, that often sets her apart. She's not just the type to wait around for orders. She kicks in the door and figures it out on the fly. That impulsive nature hasn't always won her friends, but it has earned her respect. Whether she's going toe-to-toe with Outworld's deadliest warriors or dealing with inter-realm chaos, Sonya never hesitates. What's always made her stand out is that she doesn't need powers or prophecies, just a mission and a reason. In her ending, Sonya's grief finally catches up with her. The cost of victory is heavy. Too many friends gone. Too many battles that left scars deeper than flesh. Stepping away from the special forces, she seeks solitude. But fate has other plans. An apparition appears, claiming to be the very person she's been trying to find her whole life. Her father. Whether he is a ghost, a vision, or something else entirely, he becomes her compass. With his guidance, Sonya sets out on one last mission. Not for vengeance, not for duty, but for closure. And with every step, she becomes more than a soldier. She becomes a symbol of resilience in the aftermath of war.
The loss of friends and allies during the battle with Shao Kahn took its toll on Sonya Blade's sanity. She left the Special Forces and went into seclusion to cope with her grief. But her solitude was brief, as she found herself regularly visited by an apparition who claimed to be her missing father. With her father as a guide, Sonya embarked on a mission to exterminate what remained of Shao Kahn's army.
Now, Jax, Major Jackson Briggs, isn't just muscle. He's strategy, discipline, and dedication rolled into one cyber-enhanced powerhouse. From the start, Jax has always played the role of protector, whether it's looking out for Earthrealm, his unit, or his close partner Sonya Blade. Jax brings both brains and brawn to the battlefield. What makes him compelling isn't just his strength, it's his determination to do the right thing, no matter how dirty the fight gets. His mission against the Black Dragon isn't just personal, it's war against chaos itself. Jax's rivalry with Kano is one of the longest standing beefs in the Mortal Kombat timeline. Their cat and mouse game goes way beyond grudges. It's about justice versus anarchy. Jax has shaken ambushes, injuries, and betrayal in stride, always pushing forward and always ready for round two. When Jax got those cybernetic arms, it wasn't just about getting stronger. It was about staying in the fight long after others would have tapped out. In his ending, Jax finds himself in a future where technology becomes his greatest asset. With most of his allies missing in action, Jax steps up to do what he does best: fix the problem. Utilizing a high-tech cyber scanner, he unknowingly taps into the neural interface of his old enemy, linking minds with Kano through his iconic laser eye in a virtual showdown that's equal parts cerebral and savage. Jax defeats Kano once and for all. By quarantining his consciousness inside the Special Forces mainframe, Jax doesn't just win a fight, he puts an end to one of Earthrealm's greatest threats using the very tech Kano once weaponized. It's poetic justice, and for Jax, another mission completed.
After the invasion was thwarted, many of Jax's allies had seemingly disappeared, leaving him to clean up the mess on his own. He searched for Shao Kahn's remaining forces, utilizing a new cyber scanner designed to remotely access worldwide databases. Navigating its virtual reality interface, Jax inadvertently accessed Kano's brain through his optical laser implant. Their minds linked, Jax virtually battled Kano. Finally, he captured and quarantined Kano's consciousness within the Special Forces mainframe. A dangerous criminal had finally been neutralized.
Now, Kano. If Mortal Kombat ever needed a poster boy for chaos and corruption, it'd be this guy right here. Ruthless and unpredictable, and always looking for the next score, Kano is a career criminal who turned his military know-how into Black Dragon market gold. From the moment he stepped into the series, he's been the face of the Black Dragon, the arms-dealing, bloodthirsty crime syndicate that caused Earthrealm more headaches than most sorcerers. And let's be honest, it's not just the tech enhancements or that infamous laser eye that makes him dangerous. It's that he's always seems one step away from blowing everything up just for fun. Kano's defining trait is his survival instinct. Even after taking a brutal L that nearly ended his life, he didn't crawl away and disappear. He upgraded. His cybernetic enhancements aren't just for show. They are a direct extension of who he is, a guy who turns every weakness into a weapon. He's the kind of villain who doesn't need a plan. He is the chaos that breaks everyone's plans apart. In his ending, Kano crashes in on the chaos, selling arms to Shao Kahn and using the profits to supercharge his tech. His new upgrades turn his cybernetic eye into a global hacking tool, letting him dive into networks like a digital phantom. But this new reach becomes his downfall when Jack hacks him, trapping his consciousness inside the Special Forces mainframe. You'd think that'd be the end, but not for Kano. In his ending, he escapes and spreads like a virus, taking control of automated weapon systems across the world. No longer just a threat in the streets or on the battlefield, Kano evolves into something far more dangerous. A one-man digital army with no leash and no limits.
Kano made a fortune selling arms to Shao Kahn and used the profits to upgrade his cybernetics. The added connectivity of his eye implant gave him unparalleled access to global communications. Using his mind, he navigated the databases of banks, law enforcement agencies, and other networks. But his activities left him vulnerable to hackers. Jax infiltrated Kano's mind and trapped his consciousness in the Special Forces mainframe. It wasn't long, however, until Kano managed to free himself. His consciousness spread like a virus throughout the Special Forces network of automated weaponry. Kano has become a one-man army.
Now, Stryker. If there's ever been a Mortal Kombat character who feels like he accidentally wandered in from a gritty 90s action flick, it's this guy. A no-nonsense SWAT officer with a baseball cap, taser, and a riot baton. Stryker represents Earthrealm's most grounded response to an interdimensional invasion. He's not a god, a ninja, or an undead reverend. He's a beat cop from New York who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and somehow he made it work. He's a blue-collar underdog of Mortal Kombat, and he wears that badge proudly. What made Stryker so compelling isn't flashy powers or mystical origins. It's his raw determination. When Outworld invades, Stryker doesn't back down. He doesn't even blink. This is just a guy who takes on Tarkatans with riot gear and guts. And sure, some fans poke fun of how out of place he looks next to the likes of Scorpion or Raiden, even Special Forces. But that's part of the charm. He's proof that bravery and instinct can go toe-to-toe with sorcery and brute force. In his ending, Stryker becomes an unexpected hero. After saving Earthrealm, the world celebrates him with keys to the city, national medals, and a biography that becomes a bestseller. He gets the fame, the toys, the talk shows, but when Hollywood comes knocking, he draws the line. The idea of Johnny Cage playing him? Not a chance. In classic Stryker fashion, he keeps it real, reminding everyone that he's not about the spotlight. He's a soldier, a protector, and a true man of the people. Just don't ask him to share screen time with Johnny Cage.
Despite telling the world that he was simply doing his job, Stryker was made a hero for saving Earth from invasion. He received both the key to the city and the Congressional Medal of Freedom. Press and paparazzi hounded his every move. His biography spent a year on the bestseller lists. Stryker action figures flew off the shelves and into every young boy's hand. But when approached by Hollywood for the rights to his story, Stryker put his foot down. Never would he allow himself to be portrayed by Johnny Cage.
Now, Shang Tsung, the master of deception and soul sorcery. From the very start, Shang Tsung has been one of Mortal Kombat's most dangerous characters, not just because of his fighting ability, but because of his manipulation. He was originally a man of Earthrealm, but his hunger for power pushed him towards forbidden magic. That same lust led him to Shao Kahn, where he traded loyalty for longevity. As a host of the Mortal Kombat tournaments, Shang Tsung cheated, corrupted, and skewed in the odds of Outworld's favor time and time again. But beneath all the bowing and scrapping to Shao Kahn, you always got a sense Shang Tsung was playing the long game, where he didn't just serve power, he became it. In his ending, Shang Tsung finally turns the tables. After centuries of being Shao Kahn's lapdog, he devours Emperor's soul and absorbs all that dark magic for himself. But it almost cost him his sanity. Standing at the edge of death, he's saved by Bo' Rai Cho, of all people, who offers him to train him not for redemption but for purpose, to stop Liu Kang, now corrupted by godhood. That's the twist. The sorcerer, who was once the villain, is now positioned as the only one strong and twisted enough to challenge a tyrannical Liu Kang. It's poetic in a way. The evil he once served is now his target, and he mastered a final technique to claim for revenge. Shang Tsung arc continues to prove that in Mortal Kombat, power is never just about strength. It's about strategy, manipulation, and timing. Whether he's in the shadows or rising to god killer status, Shang Tsung always plays a long game, and often more than not, he wins.
Shang Tsung voraciously consumed Shao Kahn's soul, absorbing his immense power. Overwhelmed by his newfound sorcery, he fled to Outworld. Moments before suicide, Shang Tsung was visited by Bo' Rai Cho. The mentor of warriors offered to teach him to control the dark magic, but for a special purpose. Liu Kang had become a god. The power had corrupted him, transforming him into a tyrant. He needed to be stopped. After rigorous training, Shang Tsung mastered the one technique that could finish Liu Kang. Vengeance would finally be his.
Now, Baraka, Outworld's embodiment of rage and brutality. Hailing from the savage Tarkatan race, Baraka has always been portrayed as a monster in Mortal Kombat, but there's more discipline behind his savagery than people give him credit for. Raised in a culture of violence and bloodshed, he didn't just survive, he thrived, earning the rank of enforcer in Shao Kahn's army. With his iconic retractable blades and unmatched bloodlust, Baraka has always been more than just a henchman. He's a loyal war dog who believes in the might of Outworld and the will of his emperor. And his ending, Baraka proves that even monsters have instincts, and his were sharper than most. Just when it seemed like Shao Kahn had finally claimed Earthrealm, Baraka uncovered the truth. It wasn't Kahn at all, but Shang Tsung in disguise. He recognized the deception not through spells of sorcery, but by scent. Baraka's raw instincts exposed the sorcerer's scheme, and he didn't hesitate to rip his throat out. That's the thing. With Baraka, he doesn't hesitate. He executes. As a reward, the Tarkatans are elevated to the status of Shao Kahn's favorite race, dethroning the Centaurians. Baraka's story might not be filled with twists or deep emotional arcs, but that's not his role. He's the savage loyalist who trusts action over words, instinct over intellect, and in this tale, that savagery pays off. His ending reaffirms something crucial. Never underestimate the monster who knows everything that he is.
Shao Kahn and Centaur alike were enraged that Baraka, Shao Kahn's trusted enforcer, had turned on their master and killed him just as Earthrealm was within their grasp. But their anger turned to admiration as the lifeless body of Shao Kahn transformed into that of the treacherous sorcerer Shang Tsung. Shang had attempted to claim the realm for himself by posing as Shao Kahn. The deception had not fooled Baraka. He had recognized Shang Tsung's scent and torn out his throat. With Earthrealm finally in Shao Kahn's control, Baraka's loyalty and bold action were rewarded. The Tarkatans replaced the Centaur as the Emperor's favored race.
Now, Kabal is a character that embodies a redemption through torment. Once a black dragon enforced living on the wrong side of the law, Kabal made a hard pivot by joining the NYPD, a move that turned him from villain into vigilante. That shift didn't erase his past, but it gave him a cause worth fighting for. What's tragic is that just as he was finding his footing on the right path, the invasion of Earthrealm scorched him, literally. Burned and left for dead, his transformation into the respirator-wearing warrior we know today wasn't just physical. It was symbolic of his rebirth through pain. In his ending, victory over Shao Kahn comes at a cost. His life support system is failing, and the clock is ticking. This leads Kabal to a desperate manhunt for Kano, not for revenge, but for information. He needs the name of the cyberneticist behind Kano's enhancements. Kabal gets it, but help doesn't come cheap. After paying the price, likely in blood, Kabal is rebuilt. And not just rebuilt, upgraded, faster, stronger, more dangerous than ever. Kabal is no longer just a survivor. He's a walking storm with a debt to repay. Kabal's arc is a gritty one, showing that even those with dark pasts can fight for the right cause. His body may have been scared. His body may have been scarred and sustained by tech, but his drive is all heart. Rebuilt from ruin, Kabal represents the spirit of vengeance, loyalty, and gritty perseverance. He's not trying to be a hero. He just refuses to be a victim ever again.
Victory over Shao Kahn came with a heavy price. Kabal's respirator was badly damaged, and if it was not repaired soon, he would surely die. Desperate, he tracked down Kano and forced from him the identity of the cyberneticist who developed Kano's eye laser. The good doctor was not easy to find, but he was more than eager to help, for a price. Now Kabal is rebuilt. He is better than he was before, stronger, faster, he will need to be in order to repay his debt.
Raiden has always stood as the pillar of order and protection in the Mortal Kombat universe. As a god of thunder, he's been the spiritual and strategic leader of Earthrealm's defense, carrying both the burden of foresight and the weight of failure. He's not just a deity throwing lightning bolts. Raiden is a guide, a mentor, and at times, a cautionary tale. His role in establishing the Mortal Kombat tournament was born from desperation, a plea to the Elder Gods to give Earthrealm a sliver of hope. And for centuries, that hope endured, until the defeats piled up and Armageddon loomed. In his ending, Shao Kahn's defeat doesn't mark a clean victory. It's just the beginning of another uphill battle. Where Earthrealm still scared by the merging of realms, chaos persists, but Raiden doesn't wallow in setbacks. Instead, he adapts, showing both divine ingenuity and desperation. Raiden splits his essence into 4 warriors, each a vessel of his power and will, so he can protect Earthrealm on multiple fronts. It's a risky move, but it reflects Raiden's constant willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Raiden's arc here captures the evolution from overseer to warrior philosopher. He's a god who's seen too much failure to remain detached, and his willingness to divide his soul speaks volumes about his dedication. He's not just fighting for Earthrealm, he's becoming part of it, fracturing his divine nature to ensure it survives. If that doesn't sum up Raiden's relentless sense of duty, nothing does.
Shao Kahn was gone, but the scars of the merging of realms remained. Remnants of the invasion force roamed freely and had to be dealt with. But Earthrealm is vast, and Raiden is but one being. He recruited 4 warriors, one for each direction of the wind, and divided his soul, placing one part in each of them. Through these new heroes, Raiden can combat the forces of darkness in 4 places at once.
Sheeva has always stood tall, both literally and figuratively, as a warrior defined by loyalty, strength, and the legacy of her Shokan heritage. As a member of the Royan Draco lineage, she's not just another forearm bruiser. She's Shokan royalty, forged in loyalty to Shao Kahn and sharpened by a lifetime of service. From defending Queen Sindel against Edenian rebels to becoming a master jailer of Outworld's dungeon, Sheeva has always been a force of order in a realm defined by chaos. But beneath the armor and rage lies something deeper. A Shokan warrior who knows her people's future is slipping away. In her ending, Sheeva makes a bold and calculated move, one that marks her transition from follower to leader. Seeing the decline of the Shokan and the rise of the Centaurians, Sheeva does the unthinkable. She eliminates Shao Kahn, not out of vengeance or rebellion, but out of necessity. Her act of defiance carves out a future for her people, securing them a new home in Earthrealm of all places. With Earth's leaders on board, Sheeva's vision becomes reality. Australia becomes Shokan territory, and in exchange, they serve as Earthrealm's defenders. It's a poetic twist. The monsters become the protectors. Sheeva's story is one of honor reclaimed, where other warriors sought power or revenge. Sheeva sought survival, not just for herself, but for her entire race. Her arc transforms her from a loyal enforcer into a revolutionary leader. She becomes a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and diplomacy in a world of savagery. And in doing so, Sheeva doesn't just rewrite her fate, she rewrites the fate of the Shokan all together.
Sheeva had recognized the signs. Her people were out of favor and in decline. The Centaur would soon dominate Shao Kahn's forces, while the Shokan would move inexorably toward extinction. Sheeva's act of defiance, her murder of Shao Kahn, made possible a new home for her people among the mortals of Earthrealm, a world free of both Tarkatan and Centaur. With cooperation from world leaders, Sheeva secured for the Shokan the continent of Australia. In return, they would protect Earthrealm from future invasions. For her leadership, Sheeva was exalted, the most honorable Shokan in their proud history.
Quan Chi is the very embodiment of deceit, ambition, and necromantic mastery in Mortal Kombat's dark mythos. Unlike other villains who seek brute strength or conquest, Quan Chi plays a long game. A master manipulator, he doesn't just eliminate his enemies, he turns them into weapons. His resurrection of warriors like Scorpion speaks volumes into his tactical mind and twisted sense of control. The fact that he hails from the Netherrealm, yet inserts himself into Earthrealm's affairs, has always been a red flag. Quan Chi doesn't move unless it benefits him, or so we think. In his ending, Quan Chi's grand schemes finally bear fruit. With Shao Kahn eliminated, he wastes no time collecting the souls of fallen warriors to swell the ranks of the Brotherhood of Shadow. But true to Mortal Kombat's Shakespearean level of betrayal, Shinnok repays his loyal servant with treachery. Unfortunately for the fallen Elder God, Quan Chi was several steps ahead. Not only had he predicted the backstab, he responds by resurrecting Shao Kahn as a phantom warrior. The sorcerer flips the script in savage fashion, killing Shinnok and wiping out the Brotherhood of Shadow. Treachery begets treachery, and Quan Chi comes out on top. Quan Chi's narrative has always revolved around control of others, of situations, and the soul itself. His story is one of strategic dominance, where death is merely a transition, not an end. With Shao Kahn not under his control and Shinnok erased from the board, Quan Chi cements himself not just as a villain, but as a mastermind, proof that in Mortal Kombat, the most dangerous power isn't physical, it's manipulation.
Having finally brought about Shao Kahn's demise, Quan Chi was then tasked with growing the ranks of the Brotherhood of Shadow. Many warriors had perished in Outworld's invasion of Earthrealm. Quan Chi stole their souls and remade them to serve his master, the fallen Elder God. The task completed, Shinnok repaid Quan Chi's service by ordering his execution, thereby eliminating a possible challenger to his rule. Quan Chi had anticipated this act of treachery, however, and resurrected Shao Kahn, the ultimate phantom warrior. With Shao Kahn as his enforcer, Quan Chi struck down the Brotherhood of Shadow and Shinnok. Quan Chi forgives betrayal from no one, not even a god.
Okay, so understand there's a Mortal Kombat Complete Edition that gave us 4 new characters. And if you have the PS3, you also got Kratos from God of War. Other characters were Scarlet, Kenshi, Rain, and Freddy Krueger. So I'm going to take a moment and talk about them, starting with Kratos. Now, Kratos, that name carries weight. Known across mythologies for his brutal vengeance, Kratos was never the type to play by anyone's rules. Once the Ghost of Sparta and the God of War, his story has always been drenched in blood, fueled by betrayal and driven by loss. When he's dropped into the Mortal Kombat universe, you already know it's about to get violent. Shao Kahn tried to enslave him using some ancient ritual. Bold move, but also incredibly stupid. Kratos doesn't serve, he destroys. And the second he broke free from that control, Outworld became his new battlefield. In his ending, Kratos delivers exactly what you'd expect. Vengeance with style. Shao Kahn, dead. Mortal Kombat, won. But instead of just fading away, Kratos gets a rare moment of acknowledgement. Raiden and Fusion, 2 gods who never exactly saw eye to eye with Kratos, bow before him. Not out of fear, but out of respect. It's a rare thing in his journey. Kratos doesn't say much, but when Raiden tells him Earthrealm owes him a debt, you can practically see the gears turning. He might be leaving, but that debt? Oh, he'll cash it in eventually. Kratos is a force of nature, and a universe already stacked with gods, sorcerers, reverence, and monsters. His arrival shifts the balance. He doesn't fight for honor or justice. He fights because war is all he ever known. His story there might be a detour, But make no mistake, Kratos left his mark on Mortal Kombat. And just like his own world, when he returns, nobody will be ready.
Shao Kahn was dead. The god of war had prevailed. The spell that had summoned him began to reverse itself. As he slowly faded from this place and time, Kratos was approached by Raiden and Fujin. Though he did not count them among his enemies, Kratos had never been beloved by these gods. He prepared for combat. To his surprise, they bowed to him, a show of respect he had not seen from an immortal in many an age. Raiden explained that though his motives were not pure, Kratos had saved Earthrealm. He was owed a debt of gratitude. As he returned to his own world, Kratos nodded silently. Their change of heart would perhaps prove useful one day. A debt of gratitude is often dearly paid.
Skarlet is one of Shao Kahn's deadliest creations, literally born of blood and sorcery. She's not just a warrior trained for battle, she's a weapon forged in arcane brutality. Every drop of blood spilled around her becomes her strength, feeding her like a crimson parasite in combat. That unique ability paired with her loyalty to Shao Kahn makes her more than just a tracker. She's a hunter with a supernatural thirst. While others fight for honor, vengeance, or glory, Skarlet fights because it's what she was bred to do. Her loyalty runs deep, but with all tools of evil, her story takes a darker turn. In her ending, that blind devotion backfires. Under Quan Chi's influence, Skarlet kills the very emperor who created her. But the moment that spell lifts, she turns on her manipulator with the vengeance only someone soaked in betrayal could deliver. Soaked in Shao Kahn's blood, Skarlet absorbs his power and becomes an unstoppable storm of vengeance. Quan Chi's Brotherhood of Shadow never stood a chance. Every slash only made her stronger. Every drop of blood, another step towards her retribution. Skarlet's arc is a twisted tragedy with a violent climax. Created to serve and used as a pawn, and then forged into something even deadlier. She represents the unpredictable consequences of tampering with dark magic. Skarlet may have disappeared into the shadows, but she's no longer just a weapon. She's a ticking time bomb of power and pain, waiting for the day Shao Kahn returns. And maybe, just maybe, for a purpose of her own.
Controlled by Quan Chi's sorcery, Skarlet attacked and destroyed Shao Kahn. As Quan Chi's magic subsided, she realized her unwitting role in his plot to bring ruin to Outworld. With Shao Kahn's blood splattered across her body, Skarlet absorbed his immense strength. She used this newfound power against Quan Chi. Brotherhood of Shadow Warriors raced to defend the sorcerer, but their blood only served to make Skarlet invincible. In a battle between sorcery and gore-fueled fighting power, she avenged her fallen master. Having served her purpose, Skarlet disappeared into the shadows, awaiting Shao Kahn's rebirth.
Kenshi is the embodiment of pride turned purpose. Once a traveling swordsman seeking worthy challengers, his quest for greatness led him straight into a trap, a lesson in humility served by none other than Shang Tsung. Tricked by the sorcerer under the guise of a frail old man, Kenshi was blinded by spirits and nearly left for dead, but what should have been his end became his beginning. With the guidance of his sword, Sento, now revealed to be the conduit of his warrior ancestry, Kenshi gained not only a new purpose, but a deep spiritual connection to those who came before him. In his ending, Kenshi finally delivers that vengeance that fueled his journey. After defeating Shao Kahn and securing Earthrealm's safety, his eyes, still blind, never lost sight of Shang Tsung. Thanks to Jax and a new realm traveling portal, Kenshi sets out on a mission that's more personal than a war between realms. When he finally drives Sento through Shang Tsung's chest, it's not just a kill, it's a reclamation. The sword doesn't just take Shang Tsung's life, it frees the very soul the sorcerer stole, completing a cycle of justice that began in the Well of Souls. Kenshi's arc is one of redemption, not just for himself, but for his bloodline. His violence became his strength, his vengeance became his duty, and his sword became the voice of his ancestors. In a realm filled with gods, monsters, and magic, Kenshi stands tall as one of Mortal Kombat's most grounded and most honorable warriors.
Guided by Sento, his ancestral sword, Kenshi destroyed Shao Kahn and saved Earthrealm from Armageddon. But he had not yet exacted revenge on Shang Tsung. The elusive sorcerer had hidden himself somewhere in Outworld. Jax allowed Kenshi access to a newly developed portal that permitted travel among realms. In return, Kenshi agreed to serve the fledgling Outer World Investigation Agency. After countless missions, he finally located Shang Tsung. With a roar, Kenshi plunged Sento through Shang Tsung's chest. The magical sword drew the souls of Kenshi's ancestors into itself, leaving Shang Tsung a withered husk. His vendetta fulfilled, Kenshi left Shang Tsung to die, alone and powerless.
Rain is a classic case of ambition poisoned by betrayal. Once a profound fighter for the Edenian resistance, his early life was defined by loss. An orphan created by Shao Kahn's ruthless conquest, but while many channel pain into purpose, Rain turned his into ego, and his skill sharpened, so did his thirst for power. When leadership was denied to him, Rain chose betrayal over loyalty, handing over his own people to Shao Kahn in exchange for a promise of power that was never meant to be honored. In his ending, Rain takes matters into his own hands. After realizing Shao Kahn had no intention of honoring their deal, Rain eliminates the Emperor in cold blood, making it clear that no one plays him and lives. What follows is a shocking twist. Raiden praises Rain for his actions, only to discover Rain's true lineage, a descendant of the Edenian god, Argus. This revelation inflates Rain's ego beyond anything we've seen before. Now convinced he's destined to rule, Rain doesn't just take control of Shao Kahn's army. He sets his sights on Earthrealm as his first conquest. Rain's story is a dangerous cocktail of talent, trauma, and treachery. He's not just a rogue Edenian anymore. He's a god-blooded warlord with a divine complex and a grudge against the very realm that once sheltered him. In a world filled with chosen champions, Rain chooses himself, and that makes him one of the most unpredictable threats in the realm.
Shao Kahn had used Rain to crush the Edenian resistance, but had not granted him an army. For this betrayal, Rain drowned the Emperor in his own blood. A grateful Raiden thanked Rain for eliminating the Emperor and saving Earthrealm. His heroics were befitting of a son of Argus. Rain's lost heritage was a revelation to him. That he was a direct descendant of an Edenian god proved his superiority. Power was his by right. His divinity confirmed, Rain's path was clear. He would use Shao Kahn's army to rule not just Outworld, but all the realms. To Raiden's surprise and horror, Rain's first target is Earthrealm.
Now we get to the last character, Freddy Krueger. He is the ultimate intruder, a twisted invader from the dream realm who doesn't just kill, he haunts. His addition to Mortal Kombat 9 may have surprised some fans, but the story fits right in with the franchise's brand of supernatural chaos. Freddy sees Earthrealm souls as his personal playthings, and when Shao Kahn starts collecting them, Freddy takes it personally. After being dragged into the real world and defeated, he doesn't retreat. Instead, he adapts, modifying both his hands with razor-sharp demonic gloves, plotting a bloody comeback. In his ending, Freddy's plan works. He slices through Shao Kahn with his new weapons, proving that even the Emperor's dark magic is no match for a nightmare-fueled vengeance. But just when it seems Earthrealm might get a moment to breathe, Nightwolf steps in. Recognizing the evil that Freddy represents, he performs a shamanistic ritual and banishes him back to the dream realm. Sounds like a win, right? Not exactly. Freddy wants to go back. In the dream realm, he's immortal, unstoppable, and now, empowered by a victory he'll never let Earthrealm forget. Freddy's arc in Mortal Kombat 9 is a horror crossover done right. He's not just a guest fighter, he's a force of terror with a personal vendetta and a long game. While others fight for honor or vengeance, Freddy fights for the right to torment, to dominate, and to remind everyone in your dreams, he's the final boss.
Freddy Krueger's bladed hands tore through Shao Kahn. The demonically enhanced weapons had been more than a match for the Emperor's dark magic. Though Freddy had saved Earthrealm, Nightwolf recognized him as an evil spirit, and in a shamanistic ritual sent him back to the Dream Realm. But that decision proved ruinous. Freddy did not resist. He welcomed a return to immortality. From the Dream Realm, he will again create a nightmare in Earthrealm.
Round 4.
Alright, let's talk about gameplay. And I mean gameplay. The part that really made Mortal Kombat feel like a resurrection instead of a reboot. After the experimental 3D era, Mortal Kombat went back to its roots and gave us that sweet 2D fighting style, wrapped in the most polished package the series had ever seen at that time. This wasn't some side project like Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Nah, this was the real deal. From the second you picked up the controller, you could tell they weren't playing around. The controls? Clean, smooth, responsive. Whether you were pulling off a classic ice ball with Sub-Zero or landing a juggle into a brutal X-ray with Melina, it felt tight and satisfying. The days of clunky movement from the PS2 era were over. The game flowed like a proper fighter. And speaking of X-rays, they were a game changer. The Super Meter gave us 3 segments: enhanced specials, combo breakers, and the jaw-dropping, slow-motion X-ray attacks that made you feel like a bone-crunching legend. Some were definitely better than others. Katana's was lethal, Scorpion's not so much, but the fear added a cinematic flair to every match. Then you had the modes. Story mode wasn't just a throw-in, it was the blueprint. Fully voiced, full cutscenes, full immersion. Every chapter gave you a different character and let you relive MK1 through MK3 like never before. But it didn't stop there. You had the Challenge Tower, 300 levels of madness. 1 minute you're beating zombies, the next you're playing Test Your Luck with fireballs falling from the sky. It was the ultimate mix-up game mode that made every match feel fresh. Online, it was a little hit or miss depending on your connection, but King of the Hill brought back those arcade vibes. 8 players in a virtual lobby taking turns throwing emotes, handling out respect points. It felt like middle school all over again in the best way. And if you were a crypt completionist like me, there was so much to unlock. Fatalities, alternate costumes, concept art, and a few jump scares for good measure. You had to grind, but it was worth every coin. And we can't forget tag mode. A whole new layer of strategy. Fast switching, tag assists. Suddenly MK felt like Tekken Tag meets Bloody Tradition. It brought new life to classic matchups. And while the AI could be frustrating at times, I'm looking at you, Shao Kahn, with that hammer. That's Mortal Kombat. You weren't meant to walk away clean. You were meant to suffer a little before that fatality. At the end of the day, Mortal Kombat was packed. Tag matches, challenge towers, unlockables, secrets, online modes, ladder runs. This wasn't just a fighting game. This was a celebration. A gritty, violent, heart-pounding return to form that reminded everyone while Mortal Kombat still stood after all those years. It wasn't just style over substance, it was style married to substance. And that's why for many fans, this one still reigns as peak Mortal Kombat.
Round 5.
Mortal Kombat dropped on April 19, 2011 for both the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and this launch was massive. The game came in 3 editions: the Standard, Collector's Edition, and the Tournament Edition. The Collector's Edition included an art book and these dope Sub-Zero and Scorpion bookend figurines, plus a classic costume as DLC. The Tournament Edition swapped out the bookends for a full-on arcade-style fighting stick because back then, if you were serious about combos, that was the way to go. Europe had its own version of the Collector's Edition, which came with a steel bookcase, the art book, and a Scorpion and Sub-Zero figure, and downloadable skins. Depending on where you pre-ordered by the US, you could unlock different classic skins. Toys R Us and Walmart gave out Ultimate MK3 skins for Katana and Mileena. GameSpot had Scorpion's classic look. Best Buy gave you Sub-Zero, and Amazon had Reptile. Even Blu-ray bundles of the Mortal Kombat movies came with a classic Jade skin. They really went all in on nostalgia. And if you were an Xbox 360 Avatar user, you even got a themed costume just for pre-ordering. Mortal Monday had nothing on this rollout. The PS Vita version of Mortal Kombat dropped on May 1st, 2012 in North America and a few days later in Europe. This was essentially the complete edition on the go, but with some extras. It included every feature from the PS3 version, plus bonus costumes and an exclusive challenge tower with brand new missions. The Vita version even introduced touchscreen fatalities, which was cool in concept and hit or miss in execution. The trade-off? It lost one stage and sadly the online servers were shut down in 2014. So local matches or solo grinding are your only options now. The PC port came later, hitting globally on July 3rd, 2013. Now this version was handled by High Voltage Software, not NetherRealm themselves. And while it brought some upgraded visuals, anti-aliasing, FXAA, anisotropic filtering, it didn't go as deep as other PC fighters. What it did do well was support. Gamepads and the Tournament Edition fight stick worked right out of the box, which was crucial for the competitive crowd. Playing on a keyboard? Yeah, good luck with that. It's technically possible, but the move pulling off precision combos and fatalities, still for those who want an MK on their rig, was still a solid option, especially since it came bundled with the complete edition. Also, thanks to the modding community, it was able to hack into this PC port and give you some of the most ridiculous matches. There's an entire YouTube thread of people having Mortal Kombat fights with random characters that were never in the game in the first place, and it's pretty cool to look at. Now, if you're trying to experience everything this game had to offer in one neat package, Mortal Kombat Complete Edition was the way to go. Released on February 28th, 2012 for Xbox and PS3, and eventually PC, this re-release bundled all DLC onto the disc. That meant no extra downloads, just pure content. You got 4 additional fighters: Scarlet, Kenshi, Rain, and a guest of Nightmares himself, Freddy Krueger, plus over 15 extra costumes and a suite of retro fatalities for that old school flair. Even better, this was the version to grab if you were buying pre-owned, because everything was unlocked from the jump. No codes, no hoops. The only catch? No new story or content gameplay modes were added, and PS3 exclusive character Kratos stayed PS3 only. But outside of that, this was the definitive version, especially for folks who wanted the full experience without hunting down DC.
Round 6.
Mortal Kombat was met with widespread critical acclaim and is often cited as the franchise's long-awaited return to form. Critics praised its brutal, stylish presentation, satisfying 2D style combat, and its respect for the series' roots while offering modernized experiences. The game received a strong aggregate scores of 84 out of 100 on Metacritic for PS3 and 86 out of 100 for Xbox 360, and it went on to win several awards, including Best Fighting Game at both the Spike Video Game Awards and the Golden Joystick Awards. Reviewers highlighted the game's nostalgia factor, cinematic story mode, and the addition of X-ray moves as a standout feature. The character roster, sound design, and return to 2D gameplay were especially well received. Many called it the best Mortal Kombat yet, and felt it set a new benchmark for the franchise and the fighting genre overall. From the player perspective, the reception was positive. Fans flooded the community forums and social media calling it peak Mortal Kombat, especially praising the robust character selection, engaging story mode, and fun offline multiplayer. Modes like Test Your Luck, Tag Team, and the Challenge Tower were celebrated for adding depth and replayability. But the game wasn't without criticism. Some reviewers pointed out issues in the single-player experience, such as unbalanced AI, looking at Shao Kahn and Goro and Kintaro. The inability to pause or skip cutscenes and no chapter select option, it kind of bothered people. While the fatalities and X-ray moves were initially thrilling, some players felt they became repetitive over time and lacked the shock factor they once held. Others noted that while MK gameplay was deliberate and brutal, it didn't offer the technical depth or speed found in contemporaries like Street Fighter IV. Still, the general consensus was clear. Mortal Kombat revitalized the series in a big way. It successfully balanced nostalgia with innovation, delivering a content-rich cinematic and a deeply satisfying fighting game that resonated with longtime fans and newcomers alike.
Final round.
Going back in time, this was the first Mortal Kombat game I ever bought with my own money. As a kid, this was my true introduction to the Mortal Kombat story. Sure, I played Deception and Armageddon, but I didn't fully understand the lore until I got older and experienced this game. So naturally, I have an emotional connection to what I consider a masterpiece. It opened the door to the Mortal Kombat universe for me. I started watching YouTube videos, learning about the characters, the backstories, the realms, all of it. Sub-Zero was always my favorite because of mythologies, which my older brother let me play. But this game, it had style, it had life. It brought back almost every character from MK Trilogy. It was like almost MK Trilogy 3.0. And if you had a complete edition, you literally had everyone, minus bosses like Goro, Kintaro, Shao Kahn, and Muntaro. Unless you knew how to hack the game. Shout out to those advanced players out there. What's wild is that even with this massive roster, the game never felt oversaturated. It balanced quantity and quality so well. I genuinely admire how it took the first 3 games and turned them into one cohesive, well thought out narrative. It even made some changes to the story that were shocking, but they worked. Now, if I had one gripe with the story mode, it would be how the game handled, or more accurately, didn't handle the rivalry between Goro and Kung Lao. If you see my earlier MK videos, you know I talked about how Goro eliminated the great Kung Lao 500 years ago. That's Kung Lao's ancestor, and it's a huge part of his character arc. In Mortal Kombat Gold, Goro's ending even shows him making peace with Kung Lao. But this game, that thread is pretty much ignored. I get that peace was made in MK4, but this game's story is centered around MK1 to 3, with the door left wide open for MK4. Not seeing that emotional beat play out was a missed opportunity, but beside from that, the game's story nails it. If it's your first time playing but you already know the lore, you're constantly on edge. You're waiting for the moment when Sub-Zero becomes Noob Saibot, or when Jax loses his arms, or if Scorpion will finally learn the truth about his clan. And I know some people don't want to hear it, but Mythologies is still canon in this universe. I know the game wasn't the greatest mechanically, but it's still a piece of Mortal Kombat history I loved as a kid. One of the more powerful elements of the story is how it showcases the damage that factions can do. Watching every Lin Kuei warrior except for Sector speak out against the Cyber Initiative, and then seeing Sub-Zero turn into a machine instead of smoke, that hit me right in the feels. Now, let's talk gameplay. It was fun. The fighting was tight. The fatalities were gory and brutal. And let's be honest, if this exact version of Mortal Kombat had dropped in the 90s, it would have instantly been crowned the best fighting game of all time. I never cared that the characters were still or had some stiffness, and this game felt amazing to play. Combos were encouraged, and while Shao Kahn, Goro, Kintaro felt cheap at first, once you learn their patterns, they became the easiest bosses to deal with. The Challenge Tower was a game changer. It felt like having a bunch of mini games all in one package. Test your luck, tag matches, endurance fights. It gave you so much content without ever feeling bloated. So as a reboot, or shall I say a soft reboot to be specific, this game delivered. It is, was, and always will be a complete masterpiece. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like. It helps push this video out to more people. Next week, we're back with the Rockstar Takeover, covering The Warriors. And in 2 weeks, we are bringing the Mortal Kombat Takeover to a close with Mortal Kombat X. When that video drops, I'll also be revealing the intro for my next takeover coming this year. So if you're rocking with this content, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss what's next in the pipeline. With all that said, this is the Retro Phantom, signing out.